What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4WS. Chapter 76. Advertise here. The hobbies of St. Charles Rose are completely different from those of his father, St. Rothbard. St. Charles Rose is to collect the harem. When he sees a beautiful woman, he forcibly turns her into his own wife, and kills her when she gets tired. Yes, who else did you Marine save? Take us quickly. I don't know if it's a beautiful pirate. Lieutenant General Marine nodded. Marine, save us. Master Rothward, save us. Quote. But Lieutenant General Marine, who had not heard of celestial dragons, was the descendant of the creator and the most noble existence. Even if celestial dragons fell in love with your mother, you have to obediently offer it. Lieutenant General Marine gritted his teeth. In this way, the Marine Corps, a group of Marine soldiers, regardless of the situation in the flames, took the Rothward Saint family with them, and finally arrived the Rip-Off Tavern. Over there, Pluto Rayleigh is out of breath. Zaraki Kenpachi stood there with a fierce face. St. Charles Rose noticed Kusajishi Yakiru, and his eyes brightened. Played a lot of beautiful women. But this kind of baby face, smaller, I have never seen it before. It's her, get me caught. He started to give orders to Lieutenant General Marine. Lieutenant General Marine nodded. It's him, grab it. Marine soldiers swarmed up and headed toward Kusajishi Yakiru. Pluto Rayleigh already knew that the old self was not Zaraki Kenpachi's opponent at all, and he was shocked not knowing what to say. TMD, what the hell is going on? This Gotei 13 doesn't really have the ability for every captain of the division, right? If it is really like this, what is Naval Headquarters? I'm afraid it's necessary to add World Government 5 elders to deal with Gotei 13, and it may not have a 100% chance of winning. At this time, Pluto Rayleigh also heard the words of the celestial dragons who came. For celestial dragons, Pluto Rayleigh also hates celestial dragons. Not only that, it can be said that many people hate celestial dragons. However, once offending celestial dragons will have terrible consequences. Even if the princess of the kingdom on the sea is shown by celestial dragons, that kingdom must also dedicate its princess to celestial dragons as a toy. Even if celestial dragons play the princess in front of the king the king is afraid of anger in his heart and dare not do anything. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Celestial dragons is really unreasonable to the extreme compared to other species, but no force can reverse this unreasonableness, unless Gotei 13. Thinking of this, Pluto Rayleigh immediately shook his head. Really dare not think. Go down. Marine, stop me, you can't offend this girl. Seeing that the Marine soldiers were about to take action against Kusajishi Yakiru, and wanted to take Kusajishi Yakiru and use it as a plaything for celestial dragons, Pluto Rayleigh was scared. Oh my god, this is all about forcing the Zaraki Kenpachi in front of you to kill the square. However, the Marine lieutenant did not know Rayleigh of Pluto, and he immediately drank. Old man, what are you talking about? This is the descendant of the great creator, Celestial Dragon's order. Celestial dragons behind Lieutenant General Marine heard what the Lieutenant General said and nodded very satisfied. They all smiled wretchedly in the glass cover. You did a great job. I will tell Sengoku to increase your salary. I might also go and talk to the old guy Gangukong, reward you with a devil fruit, and do more for me in the future. After hearing these words from the celestial dragon's father and son, the Marine Lieutenant General who looked righteous suddenly bent over at them like a dog. Thank you. Like a dog, he said several times in succession. But at this moment, bang bang bang, the Marine soldiers who came to Kusajishi Yakiru one by one, their souls were torn and fell straight down. Kusajishi Yakiru can become the deputy captain of the 11th Division. Of course, she doesn't know anything. Her favorite thing to say is Aegean, let's become stronger together. Aegean, it seems that there is something wrong with the order of this world. Kusajishi Yakiru can already see from the Marine's clothes that this must be a certain authority in control of the world, but what they did made Kusajishi Yakiru understand that the order of the world is probably broken. Oh, that's it, then I will destroy everything more thoroughly. After it is broken, there will be new ones, right? Zaraki Kenpachi laughed cruelly now. Celestial dragons are something. Zaraki Kenpachi said that he has never seen or heard of them. In Zaraki Kenpachi's opinion, there are only two types of people that I can kill and I can kill myself. Find flowers. It's broken, it's all broken. What did Pluto Rayleigh realize at this time? However, Lieutenant Marine's fist was clenched and immediately wrapped around 5 armament hockey on his fist, revealing the color of black iron. Celestial dragons, I fell in love with you, but you dare to resist. You have committed such a crime. As Marine, I have to deal with you. After the upright Marine Lieutenant General finished this sentence, Marine will go directly to Kusajishi Yakiru. This prey is mine, Aegean. With Aegean, he doesn't need to fight. But at this time, Kusajishi Yakiru felt that he had no problem dealing with this Marine Lieutenant General or something. Her Zanpakuto, Shikai. Come out, 3-step sword beast. After Shikai, there is no special change in the blade, but 2 little ghosts will appear separately. What is this? Lieutenant General Marine was startled. Pluto Rayleigh said solemnly. She is from the 11th Division of Seireitei. I don't think you haven't heard of Seireitei. Lieutenant General Marine. One of his heart sank. Licking the relationship of celestial dragons too. He ignored Zaraki Kenpachi, Kusajishi Yakiru's sturdy outfit. Because of Seireitei, some clothing stores in Chambord Islands have also begun to popularize black and white clothes. Ever since, Lieutenant General Marine really didn't notice this. Now, Lieutenant General Marine's face was pale. Saint Rothwald didn't care about what Seireitei said. Who, do you need to be afraid of being like this? The other party, is it comparable to our celestial dragons? Lieutenant General Marine had no idea what to say. At this time, Kusajishi Yakiru shot, and went to the Lieutenant General Marine. Lieutenant General Marine who was panicked because of the three words Seireitei, where is Kusajishi Yakiru's opponent? It can only become a toy for Kusajishi Yakiru to play with. Trash, a little girl, you can't take it anymore. St. Charles Rose cursed now. Lieutenant General Marine, just like that in their eyes, lick it well, reward. You did not do well. Scold, beat, kill. It's so annoying. Zaraki Kenpachi walked up towards celestial dragons. Pluto Rayleigh hurriedly shouted. No. Go up and block Zaraki Kenpachi. Chew on. Chapter 77. Advertise here. Stop. Pluto Rayleigh yelled immediately after seeing this scene. This is Celestial Dragons. It seems that the opponent's position in Celestial Dragons is also very high. The death of Celestial Dragons will trigger the arrival of Admiral. If Admiral can't match the opponent, in order to calm the anger of the Celestial Dragons in the Holy Land, Marine will be pressured to choose an island and let the people of the island bury it. This is the funeral of Celestial Dragons. Pluto Rayleigh, how could this happen? But it's too slow. Years of desolation have made it impossible to catch up with Zaraki Kenpachi's sword. Many people will tolerate the behavior of Celestial Dragons, but Zaraki Kenpachi is not like this anymore. According to Zaraki Kenpachi, people are really different. It is the difference between the strong and the weak. Why can the weak be superior? This is something Zaraki Kenpachi doesn't understand and doesn't want to understand. He climbed step by step from the humble place in Rukongai. Now, he slashed directly at Rothward Saint with a sword. A group of marine soldiers rushed up and stood in front of Saint Rothward. No, I am a great Tianlong. The words were not finished yet. Saint Rothward connected the dozen marine soldiers in front of him, and they were divided into two under the pressure of Zaraki Kenpachi's fiery sword. Blood dripping. Ah, Dad. Saint Charles Rose looked at this scene and cried out in disbelief. He didn't expect such a thing to happen. There are people who dare to treat the descendants of the creator like this. On the other side, Lieutenant General Marine, who was playing with Kusajishi Yakiru, also saw this scene. You must know that he is responsible for protecting the Celestial Dragon's father and son. If one dies, what will be waiting for him? Thinking of this, the sorrow in the heart of the Marine Lieutenant was afraid that he would be better than St. Charles Rose who died of his father. At this moment, Lieutenant General Marine died. Really, I was fascinated when fighting with me. Kusajishi Yakiru curled his lips on the cute baby's face. Zaraki Kenpachi stood there cruelly, and instead said to Kusajishi Yakiru, is it fun? Pluto Rayleigh didn't expect that at such a time, would he still be able to say such a thing. He looked solemnly. Do you know what are you doing? Zaraki Kenpachi looked fierce. It seems that he killed a beast. Kill, what about that? Pluto Rayleigh. He had many years of experience, and he could see that the murderous man in front of him had really come out of a pile of blood. To him, killing was as simple as a commonplace meal. Kill, so what? It seems that in the eyes of the opponent, there is only one that can be killed, and the one that can't be killed now. How could there be such a person? Gotei 13, what kind of team is it? Among them, Byakuya Kuchiki is so arrogant, but there is aristocratic demeanor between the gestures, and there is this massacre in front of him. Now, the surrounding buildings, under the flames, have collapsed and burned down. Zaraki Kenpachi saw this at this time, and there was a person who was leaving here with the pirate group. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Pray. Zaraki Kenpachi smiled grimly, grabbed Kusajishi Yakiru with one hand, and jumped fiercely, jumping forward. St. Charles Rose saw the person who killed his father ran away, and immediately yelled, he ran away, he must be chased by me. The marine soldiers looked at each other, very scared. Pluto Rayleigh usually doesn't want to talk to celestial dragons at all, but in order not to cause more casualties, he still speaks. No, he didn't run away, he saw Dover who he was going to hunt down. To shut up. But St. Charles Rose still severely interrupted what Pluto Rayleigh was about to say. Right, a bad old man, retort me. Do you know who I am? Descendants of the great creator. Your master. Do you know our nobility? Naval headquarters is just our dog. World government is just a servant. In order not to breathe the same air as you, our heads are all covered. We have a noble bloodline that is different from your group of dirty things. We are excellent in all aspects, correct, and there can be no mistakes. Have you heard? Chase me. St. Charles Rose cried. Marine soldiers can only nod their heads. Of course they are inclined to what the silver-haired old man said, but what, Celestial Dragon's order, did they dare to disobey? In this way, under the leadership of St. Charles Rose, the marine soldiers immediately chased after him. Pluto Rayleigh was shaking with anger while holding the sword. What is going on with this Celestial Dragons? I just counted saving his life, right? In order not to cause more accidents, more casualties. But he looks like this. Rayleigh, actually don't care about it at all. Aunt Shaw stood behind Rayleigh, the king of Hades. Pluto Rayleigh trembled with anger and felt weak at the same time. Yup, I am old. The energy is not as good as before. Fighting with Zaraki Kenpachi, this big killer, Pluto Rayleigh felt his powerlessness. If I'm in his heyday, I'm not sure I can beat Zaraki Kenpachi. Pluto Rayleigh sighed. Doflamingo, taking advantage of the chaos caused by the flames, wanted to leave the Chambordeian Islands in a pirate boat. You know, he also has an industry in the Chambord Islands. The auction house or something. But I didn't expect it to be discovered like this. If against Byakuya Kuchiki, Doflamingo knows he is not an opponent. As for the captain of Gotei 13's 11th division, Doflamingo still doesn't know the opponent's strength. But Doflamingo doesn't want to take risks, this is not Dressrosa. Most of his cadres are not here. He is also used to being alone. The result is now 5 color strings. Doflamingo shot. He doesn't want to die here. He still has a lot of things to do. Immediately, among the 5 fingers, a nearly transparent silk thread was created, and it jumped toward him. The brutal Zaraki Kenpachi grabbed it. The silk thread, sharp enough, tore the air away and came towards Zaraki Kenpachi. It's interesting. As long as Zaraki Kenpachi has a fight, he is excited and feels his blood is boiling. With a sword, it slashed up. He didn't use Kido or anything. He knows only swords. His moves are not so dazzling, but very simple. In this way, facing the 5 silk threads, Zaraki Kenpachi slashed straight up. Suddenly, bumped together. There was a terrible wave of air, and the calm sea suddenly fluctuated again. The pirate boats at Doflamingo's feet were shaking constantly, seeming to be swallowed by the sea. At the same time, St. Charles also brought marine soldiers, aboard a warship, and approached here. Chapter 78. Advertise here. Chapter 77. The powerlessness of string fruit. Hey, in front of you, don't think about running away, you who killed the descendants of the great creator need to accept the punishment and sanctions of our supreme, celestial dragons. On the warship, St. Charles was barking with a dog, asking Zaraki Kenpachi to accept the sanctions of celestial dragons. St. Charles did not notice that the soldiers on the same warship as him were pale. They can see the situation clearly now. Doflamingo seems to be afraid of this fierce man. Sure enough, Seireitei is terrible, and they went up with celestial dragons to find this man's trouble. Isn't this what it means to die? But no one dared to say to St. Charles that you were wrong or something. Even if they are correct and Charles Saint is wrong, they will be blamed afterwards and let them die. Anyway, celestial dragons must be correct. What actually killed celestial dragons? Doflamingo looked at Zaraki Kenpachi 18 in amazement now. In fact, for the species celestial dragons, Doflamingo's emotions are a bit complicated, because he was once celestial dragons. He once killed his relatives, hoping to return to celestial dragons, but was abandoned and completely looked down upon. Celestial dragons are high. Doflamingo has resentment in his heart, but he dare not do anything. This man killed celestial dragons, and looked indifferent, and came to chase him down. Thinking of this, Doflamingo's expression became serious. Why does the man in front of him have to kill himself? Zaraki Kenpachi stood there ignoring the barking of dogs like celestial dragons among the warship chasing behind him. Zaraki Kenpachi stared at Doflamingo coldly with one of the exposed eyes, then grabbed the big sword in his hand and slashed at Doflamingo again. Kusajishi Yakiru stood on the side of the deck again, watching the battle. Little sword, come on. At the beginning, Doflamingo was also curious, what exactly is this Zanpakuto Shikai of Zaraki Kenpachi? Yes, it can be seen from the battle of Byakuya Kuchiki that Zanpakuto has the so-called Shikai and Bankai. With the idea that Zanpakuto will suddenly change shape, Doflamingo fights with Zaraki Kenpachi, and realizes that Zaraki Kenpachi's sword is very simple. He uses his strength to chop it out, chop it down, and stab it. It can be said that in the battle of Zaraki Kenpachi, Doflamingo had already understood from the beginning how Zaraki Kenpachi's sword would come towards him. However, knowing that the problem would soon arise, Doflamingo found that he was not really easy. Zaraki Kenpachi's sword is too fast and too powerful. Doflamingo's moves were used time and time again, such as super cunning lines, parasite string, bullet string, etc., but they were all severely chopped off by Zaraki Kenpachi. Damn it, what else can this man do besides hacking? But I have to say that Doflamingo has been completely afraid of the opponent's power, and the opponent seems to only cut, and then Doflamingo finds that he will be cut one by one by the sword no matter what subtle moves he uses. For a while, Doflamingo's heart was a little stunned. Is he going to be hacked to death here today? This guy looks different from other Seireitei's characters. His Zanpakuto didn't see the slightest change, but he just slashed it simply, but he has unmatched power. It can be said that Doflamingo is now afraid of head-to-head with Zaraki Kenpachi. The sword pressure on Zaraki Kenpachi's sword is too strong. If you go head-to-head, Doflamingo knows that he will be defeated, and all he can do now is to rely on observation haki to avoid it. Of course, armament haki must cover the whole body. Because of the strength of the sword pressure, even the air seems to be burned by the hot sword pressure. Doflamingo can now feel a slight burn on the skin covered by armament haki. Do you only have this level? If it's only like this, then you seem to be able to die. The corner of Zaraki Kenpachi's mouth had a grinning smile. It was another sword, slashing it up fiercely. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Sword pressure. This time the sword pressure was more terrifying than the previous few times. At this moment, Doflamingo only felt that death seemed to have come. For a while, his hairs swelled, his soul was overwhelmed, and he was sweating coldly. Doflamingo is scared. The guy in front of him should deal with Kaido, the beast. One wanted to kill. One wants to be killed. They are a match made in heaven. Why do you want to trouble yourself? Doflamingo was scared. Knowing that he could no longer fight the opponent, he had seen Marine Admiral, but Marine Admiral did not give him such a violent feeling. The other party's murderous aura is too strong. When fighting him, you have to face the opponent's sword pressure and the opponent's murderous intent. At this moment, the power of Devil Fruit's awakening burst out. Shield white line. For a time, a lot of huge lines emerged, which temporarily resisted Zaraki Kenpachi's sword pressure. And Doflamingo leapt, jumped onto the incoming warship, and came behind St. Charles Roth. But depending on the shield's white line, it was completely split by Zaraki Kenpachi's hot sword pressure at this moment. Boom. The sword fell. The pirate ship was completely shattered. Master Celestial Dragons, this fellow can only be dealt with your strength. Doflamingo knows that Tianlongren is too stupid, too high, and such a fool can be used at this time to temporarily stop Zaraki Kenpachi. Have some insight. St. Charles Rose nodded. He loves people who tell the truth the most. The great celestial dragons are obviously the most supreme existence in this world. But on the sea, many guys refuse to admit this. Calling Charles Rose Saint is very angry. Right now, St. Charles Roth shouted, "Fire!" Zaraki Kenpachi, Kusajishi Yakiru, stood on a broken deck. St. Charles gave an order, and the shells were fired. Kusajishi Yakiru, standing behind Zaraki Kenpachi, and facing the shells, Zaraki Kenpachi did not defend himself, so he stood there quietly. Boom, boom, boom. For a while, the sea water splashed. For a time, the waves rolled. Ha 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 ha. St. Charles Rose looked at the scene before him and laughed wildly. Yes, it is like this. You who have offended the descendants of the Creator must bear the punishment of the great power of celestial dragons like me. Great power. At this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi's cold and cruel voice sounded in the smoke in front of him. Is it that way? Chapter 79. Advertise here. Chapter 78. The Master of Celestial Dragons is dead. Close the door and put Admiral. St. Charles rose. His eyes widened. How could he be like this? His cannonball has clearly hit this Zaraki Kenpachi. How could this guy have nothing to do? You didn't die. That's your luck. Come on. Let me continue firing. Let him know the fate of offending the great celestial dragons. Now St. Charles continued to order. The Marines had long known about the cannonballs. For a strong man like Zaraki Kenpachi, it was of no use at all, but they could not fail to comply with St. Charles' orders. Sure enough, this is a broken order. Gotei 13 is needed to correct it, right? Zaraki Kenpachi said this sentence coldly. Seriously, it is Shinigami's job to maintain order, but it is not his Zaraki Kenpachi's job. Zaraki Kenpachi was only born to fight. Justice, it's fair. For Zaraki Kenpachi, he doesn't want to worry about it. He just wants to enjoy his fight. As for the celestial dragons in front of him, they are weak to this level. Still screaming here. Go to hell. Zaraki Kenpachi now directly raised the sword in his hand, and then slashed it up. You rubbish, what do you want to do to the descendants of my great creator, who has the most noble blood in the world, gather beautiful and handsome beings? In his last bark, this warship and all marine soldiers on it disappeared under Zaraki Kenpachi's sword pressure. At the same time as the warship, Zaraki Kenpachi's sword pressure was extremely hot, destroying the others one by one. Suddenly vanished into nothing. Celestial dragons naturally died in it. Little sword, look at that guy who has escaped. Our mission has not been completed yet. At this time, Kusajishi Yakiru screamed out again. Zaraki Kenpachi looked forward. Sure enough, Doflamingo had escaped long ago. His thread was connected to the clouds. At this moment, there were no other pirate ships on the sea. Doflamingo had no other choice, and now he fled back to the Chambordian Islands. It's impossible for the prey I fancy to escape. Zaraki Kenpachi's hideous face again said this coldly, and then grabbed Kusajishi Yakiru and placed it on his shoulder. Zaraki Kenpachi jumped rudely and entered the shampoo. Among the islands. There are other ways to fight elegantly, none of which has anything to do with Zaraki Kenpachi. Zaraki Kenpachi has only rude and domineering power. Trash celestial dragons. I think I am so self-righteous, but I am looking for a dead end. I really think that I am extremely noble. I didn't bring any more people when I came out. Damn it. Doflamingo now exploded to the extreme, madly fled into the Chambord Islands, and at the same time his mouth kept cursing celestial dragons. His speed is so fast that he can't reach it normally. After all, Devil Fruit's power after awakening is more than just 1 or 2 points stronger than usual. At this moment, the flames of the Chambordian Islands have gradually extinguished, and there is dense smoke all around. The black smoke is rising up into the clouds. Now Doflamingo has come to the ripped-off bar, and when he sees the King Rayleigh, he breathed a sigh of relief and started to pant weakly. Pluto Rayleigh is in the Chambord Islands. Maybe other people don't know it, but he knows it. As the big boss of the underground world, he has so much underground information. How could he not know this? Doflamingo didn't expect that he would have such an embarrassing day. Originally, he could perform better than before, but it is a pity that this is not Dressrosa, if all the cadres are here, coupled with the advantage of location. He, Doflamingo, couldn't have lost so fast, so miserably. What a pity now. In order to survive, Doflamingo looked at the Pluto Rayleigh in front of him, gritted his teeth, and there were some words that he didn't want to say anyway, but at this time. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Pluto Rayleigh, Roger's deputy captain, now the coder on the Chambordian Islands, hee, you have to block Zaraki Kenpachi for me, otherwise, hee, I'm dead, when the time comes. Pluto Rayleigh looked embarrassed. He really doesn't want to care about this kind of thing, but now. I also have some contacts with Kaido, the beast Kaido. Yes, if I die, Kaido the beast will go crazy, then the situation in New World. When Doflamingo said this, Pluto Rayleigh's complexion was even more embarrassing and depressed. Doflamingo sneered, Hume and high at all, but rather frustrated and depressed. He actually had to rely on such means to survive. What a joke is this? However, in order to survive, he can only do so now. Pray, you are here. At this time, Zaraki Kenpachi's ruthless and rude voice rang again. This time, Zaraki Kenpachi felt that he was lucky and did not get lost. Doflamingo gritted his teeth. Pluto Rayleigh really doesn't intervene, but recalling what Doflamingo said just now. He took a deep breath and looked serious, holding the sword just now, and walked out again. Quote. I stopped him for a while, you go away. Quote. When Pluto Rayleigh passed by Doflamingo, he said in disgust. Doflamingo smiled. Bah. Zaraki Kenpachi cried with interest. Oh, it's you again, are you confident this time to cut me down? Pluto Rayleigh took a deep breath. Slowly raised the sword in his hand at this moment. He seems to be condensing something. Something seems to be brewing. Zaraki Kenpachi did not interrupt him, but told Kusajishi Yakiru to go aside. Little sword, fight as much as you like. Kusajishi Yakiru stepped on his little feet and ran to the side, then his eyes were fixed on Doflamingo. Doflamingo. I was spotted by a kid to get Qian Zhao. But he also understands that this effect child is not an ordinary child, right? Finally, the king of Pluto Rayleigh finally yelled, cut. Suddenly, a terrifying slash slammed down, as if it had penetrated the entire world. Rumble. This slash seemed to tear everything in front of it. Zaraki Kenpachi stood there. Suddenly, it slammed into it abruptly. Boom. At this moment, heaven and earth lose their color. In the Chambord Islands, there are naturally other marine soldiers, they are panicking now. The flames of the Chambord Islands disappeared. But something happened to celestial dragons. Now on the island, there is another great war erupting. Marines, everyone is terrified and don't know what to say. It is related to celestial dragons, you must contact naval headquarters. Yes, Admiral, it's time to go. Chapter 80. Advertise here. Chapter 79 The Power of Akainu. The marine soldiers in the Chambord Islands knew that the situation was beyond their control. The death of celestial dragons is definitely a major event for the world government and naval headquarters. Celestial dragons is the supreme existence, even if you look at the princess of a king in the franchise, if the king does not hand it over, the world government naval headquarters will take action against the kingdom and destroy everything in the name of justice. The existence of celestial dragons has basically surpassed the so-called law. No need, I'm here already. When the panicked voices of the marine soldiers fell, when a marine soldier took out a phone worm and prepared to report the situation to naval headquarters. A deep, suppressed sound of boundless anger sounded in the space. The marine soldiers couldn't help but recognize the Lord, and recovered from their astonishment. They turned their heads and looked at them one by one. Sakazuki Admiral. It was not someone else who came, but Akainu, one of Marine's 3 Admiral. This made all the marine soldiers very surprised. Even after returning to their senses, there was still a strong look of surprise in their eyes. Unexpectedly, Akainu, one of Marine's 3 Admirals, would be here. You are here to tell Marshal Sengoku what is happening here. By the way, tell them that 7 Warlords of the Sea has been defeated by Gotei 13's 6th Division team. Now I will go to the scene first. Akainu said faintly. Even if his tone was flat, he still gave people a feeling of anger that would erupt at any time, as if a volcano was about to erupt, so that the marine soldiers were frightened, and immediately nodded respectfully and did not dare to defy the slightest. A few lieutenants followed behind Akainu. In fact, Akainu has long been near this sea area. His purpose here is to take down a guy from Gotei 13. Originally, his idea was that the King Nanami would fight with guys from Gotei 13, then the guys from Gotei 13 would be injured a little bit. Then, Akainu would take it. It is still very simple to play the opponent, but in the end, Akainu understands that the thinking is very beautiful and full, and the reality is very skinny. In Akainu's opinion, 7 Warlords of the Sea is really useless. But after all, he was still late. He didn't expect that so many people had died in the Chambord Islands, and even celestial dragons had died. At this moment, Akainu angrily led the Marines towards the place where the fighting broke out in the Chambord Islands. Great, Sakazuki Admiral is here, there should be nothing wrong now. Yes, he is Akainu, one of Marine's 3 Admirals, and has the Devil Fruit ability, which is known as the most terrifying attack power among the 3 Admirals. When he comes, everything will be fine, even if the opponent is Seireitei. I think Seireitei will fight other people as best as he can, and then fight with Sakazuki Admiral and a few lieutenant generals. He will definitely be defeated by that time. Quote. The tone of each marine soldier was full of confidence, which was confidence in Akainu's power. It should be possible to catch a Seireitei guy now. ... At this moment, Rayleigh's slashing of the Hades has gradually disappeared. Under the terrible slashing just now, the clouds in the sky seemed to be torn apart. The surrounding space was like a broken mirror, full of cracks. Terror. To issue such a slash, the young Pluto Rayleigh used to be very simple to do it, but now the old Pluto Rayleigh can take a long time to make such a slash. But watch. After this slash, the buildings in front of them were even directly leveled. After the slash, everything seems to have disappeared. Seeing this scene, Doflamingo also had to sigh. It's worthy of being the deputy captain of One Piece Roger. Even if he is old, he still possesses such terrifying power. It should not be underestimated. Terrible. Too frightening. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Under the terrifying slash, everything disappeared. There is thick black smoke in front of it. This terrifying slash was much more terrifying than Devil Fruit's power. Such a slash, in Doflamingo's view, it is impossible for Hawkeye to slash it out, right? Such a slash is enough to make Kaido the Beast jealous. Unfortunately, Pluto Rayleigh doesn't have a sharp knife. If so, I'm afraid they can leave a hole in Kaido's body. Zaraki Kenpachi or something, should it have disappeared. Looking at the black smoke in front of him, Doflamingo said so now. Aunt Shaw thinks so too. Pluto Rayleigh exhausted all his strength and slashed out. The guy who can destroy everything, should be able to defeat Seireitei. This Seireitei guy doesn't seem to be shikai or anything. However, Kusajishi Yakiru, but still stood quietly, with a smile on the face of the baby, who didn't seem to be worried at all. Pluto Rayleigh and others, who noticed this, immediately looked closely at the dense smoke ahead. It's a bit interesting. The voice, with the smell of blood excitement, came out. Call Doflamingo scared. How come, like this, didn't die? Dead. If Zaraki Kenpachi knows this word, I am afraid that I will laugh. At this moment, Pluto Rayleigh is also solemn, and the slash just now is already his full strength. It's not like when I was young, this kind of slash, just want to come and go. Rayleigh, the king of Pluto, felt that he was tired, and the sword in his hand was as heavy as something. Many years of drinking and abandoning life, the current Pluto Rayleigh is really unaccustomed to such a strong existence. Come on, fight. Zaraki Kenpachi came out. In one of his eyes, there was a little bloodthirsty excitement. Pluto Rayleigh saw this, looked at Doflamingo, and said, I can't help you. Doflamingo's face was pale and bloodless. Now Zaraki Kenpachi walked up towards Doflamingo. Doflamingo steps back. Are you going to die here? He is not reconciled. If this was Dressrosa, he would not have died so easily. Spitfire. At this moment, a loud shout came from far and near. The smoke from the billowing lava hit the sky. The surrounding air has been evaporated, and the temperature has risen linearly. The big fist, which was completely covered by magma, fell suddenly now. The target is not Pluto Rayleigh or something. It's Zaraki Kenpachi. Akainu knows who is the most threatening existence to naval headquarters and world government. Pray. Zaraki Kenpachi didn't expect another one to pop up. He shook the sword in his hand. He also snorted. With a roar of excitement, Ryūjin dived up, tearing layers of air. Boom. Suddenly, they collided together. Space shakes. Chapter 81. Advertise here. Chapter 80. With a loud bang, the giant sword in Zaraki Kenpachi's hand slammed into the arm that turned into lava. Immediately, Zaraki Kenpachi's great sword split Akainu's lava arm in two, and then continued upward, sweeping across the sky, and the clouds began to split. Eventually, the slash of Zaraki Kenpachi disappeared from the invisible distance of the sky. Not see. After Akainu's hot lava arm was split in two, it burst completely and became one, and then another giant great fireball that could destroy one pirate ship after another. Akainu snorted and grew an arm again. Then, under his control, the sky full of fireballs continued to come towards Zaraki Kenpachi, sweeping through the space, and the air in the space was burned one by one. At the end, the surrounding grass continued to burn, and the seawater not far away gradually emitted some warm air. I didn't expect Akainu to come. Doflamingo was stunned, thinking that Pluto Rayleigh couldn't stop Zaraki Kenpachi, so he was dead. Unexpectedly, Akainu, one of Marine's 3 admirals, arrived, and now Doflamingo feels that he still has hope of living. Doflamingo thought for a while. Zaraki Kenpachi had already fought with Rayleigh, the king of Hades, and fought with himself for a while. Now he is facing Akainu, the strongest attacking force among Marine admirals, and the Marine lieutenant generals on the side will also assist Akainu. At this moment, Doflamingo feels that Seireitei's Gotei 1311th team captain might be impelled down. Facing the fireballs one after another, Zaraki Kenpachi was not too scared at all. Instead, his expression was extremely excited, as if he was taking drugs. His complexion was a little red, and then he yelled in excitement, okay, come on, let's fight together. He waved the big sword in his hand, carrying a powerful sword pressure, and slashed away one after another fireball in a rude and domineering manner. Akainu Admiral, let us help you. Marine lieutenants around Akainu had their palms covering armament hockey, and then drew out their swords. One by one sent out their own slashes at the same time, and started attacking in cooperation with Akainu. Akainu didn't say much. In Akainu's opinion, a despicable sneak attack, and other things are no longer important. As long as he can win the opponent, as long as he can maintain justice, Akainu feels that his martial arts are not important at all. For the justice in the heart, Akainu can give up everything. This is Akainu's persistence, Akainu's belief. Lieutenant General Marine is naturally not easy one by one. Most of their strengths are qualified to be comparable to 7 warlords of the sea, even if they are not as good as Hancock, Tyrant Bear and Hawkeye. But their toughness is definitely comparable to Crocodile and Gecko Moria. The battle has started from 50 to 50, even suppressing them or losing, but Crocodile and Gecko Moria have to pay a heavy price. Just as Zaraki Kenpachi split the great fireball one after another from Lieutenant General Marine, they rushed towards Zaraki Kenpachi. They cooperated and the speed of the slash was so fast. It's unbelievable, and at the same time they seemed to have blocked Zaraki Kenpachi's retreat, making Zaraki Kenpachi have to fight. However, they didn't know one thing, that is, Zaraki Kenpachi never dodges, he doesn't need to seal his retreat at all, he doesn't want to retreat at all, he wants to escape, all he will do is rude and domineering. Slashing one after another, split the space, and made a resounding sound of breaking through the air. It can be said that Marine Lieutenant General, every one of them is a swordsman. And facing the fireball, slash. Zaraki Kenpachi was even more excited, his sword pressure also moved around. Crazy kendo. It doesn't seem to be tired, but the more you fight, the more excited it is. The fireball, slashing, was finally completely smashed by Zaraki Kenpachi. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Marine Lieutenants, plus Akainu. This guy from Gotei's 13th Squad, this time looks bad. Aunt Shaw was also on the sidelines. The other undead pirates of the Shamboard Islands are also on some charred buildings in the distance. They saw the power of Byakuya Kuchiki. Now I also see the power of Zaraki Kenpachi. But at this moment, looking at Zaraki Kenpachi, who was surrounded and seemed to have no way out, all the pirates swallowed with difficulty. They are scared, Akainu is here, will they even be arrested? If they encounter Lieutenant General Marine, they will desperately think that they still have a chance to escape. Find flowers. But when they encounter an existence like Akainu, if they are targeted by Akainu, they know that they must go to impel down. But after thinking about it, they found that they could not move. They want to watch it. I want to see what exciting battles will happen next time. In fact, we think too much. Akainu's goal is not us. Yeah, we are a fart compared to Seireitei. Quote. At the same time look at the situation in front of you. For Zaraki Kenpachi of Gotei 13's 11th Squad. Very unfavorable. I didn't expect such a thing to happen today. Pluto Rayleigh scratched his head and stood aside. Akainu glanced at him and said nothing. Naval headquarters, of course, also know that Pluto Rayleigh is here. Akainu originally wanted to capture Pluto Rayleigh, but he was stopped by Sengoku a long time ago. A pirate who wanted to retire, let him retire, and if he was in a hurry, let him come out of the mountain again, which is not good. Now, Pluto Rayleigh has gray hair. Akainu is no longer interested in Pluto Rayleigh, even if he doesn't catch Pluto Rayleigh, Akainu thinks he won't live long. Now, Akainu continued to look at Zaraki Kenpachi with a pair of angry eyes. Compared to Pluto Rayleigh, Zaraki Kenpachi is the real big problem. At present, Gotei 13 or something is even more tricky than 4 emperors called naval headquarters. But now, Akainu has the confidence to take down Zaraki Kenpachi. Then, from Zaraki Kenpachi's lashing question, Seireitei, where on earth is in the sea? Finally, learn all the information of Seireitei, mobilize all the troops, and completely eliminate the so-called Seireitei. Gotei 13, 11th Squad, isn't it? Under Marine's cap and above Akainu's face, his eyes were angry and his expression was extremely dark, and his tone was full of anger, mixed with murderous intent. Today you are destined to be defeated. You will be defeated by justice. Chew on. Chapter 82. Advertise here. Akainu is now looking at Zaraki Kenpachi with his glaring eyes. He has a fierce face, a scar on his left face, and the edge of his Captain Haori's hem is jagged. And it's a cyclops with a blindfold on one of its eyes. In Akainu's view, could it be that Zaraki Kenpachi was broken by others when he was not perfect in his studies? At this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi looked fierce and excited. From Akainu's point of view, it was just the struggle of a lion before death, just like a glorious reflection. Stimulating now, excited now, ha ha, after a while, I can't laugh anymore. Seireitei. As far as naval headquarters is concerned, there is no information in the database. As such, it is necessary to figure it out. Grab one of Gotei 13 and it's the beginning. And Zaraki Kenpachi was also looking at Akainu. Akainu's look, fierce face, made Zaraki Kenpachi quite admired. The man. You should look like this hideously, otherwise, what kind of man is it called? Akainu's face was not a good person, which made Zaraki Kenpachi highly agree. At the same time, Zaraki Kenpachi has already seen the power of Akainu just now. All in all, according to Zaraki Kenpachi, this opponent can barely let himself have a good time. I can't wait anymore. Following his words, Kusajishi Yakiru on the side also watched this scene happily. Marine lieutenant generals are upset one by one, they are all hawks. They strongly support that Akainu can become the new marshal. Of course, he must have enough merit. Grab Zaraki Kenpachi, this is the beginning. Looking at Zaraki Kenpachi's excitement at the moment, there was finally Lieutenant General Marine who couldn't bear it and shouted. Hey, who is from the 11th Division, do you know what kind of situation you are facing now? Zaraki Kenpachi smiled cruelly, ignoring Lieutenant General Marine, as if he was not qualified to talk to himself in such a place. 11th Division. Tell me, Seireitei, where are you? Akainu clenched his fists. The whole body began to turn into lava, there was magma, rolling and boiling over his body. The magma dripping down completely burned the ground. The terrifying high temperature on Akainu caused the surrounding grass to start burning. Come and chop me, I'll tell you who chopped it. In the face of Akainu, Zaraki Kenpachi said so. Akainu's eyes condensed and suddenly burst into flames. Turned into a magma man, rushed away. The arm with the endless heat turned into a hideous dog's head when approaching Zaraki Kenpachi. The guy who trampled on justice unreasonably. Accept the sanctions of justice. Canine-tooth red lotus. Akainu yells. His voice seemed to roar like a volcanic eruption. His body turned into hot billowing magma. That hideous dog head tears the space apart and burns the air to the point of being terrible. Justice. Your present order has already been reversed, so what right do you have to say about justice? Zaraki Kenpachi sneered coldly. Yes, there is no order anymore. Kusajishi Yakiru, who was watching the battle, also nodded in agreement. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Celestial dragons are something, Kaolu Yachinlu has already seen it, and it's something more rubbish than rubbish. But in this world, it seems that the status is really very high. A group of Marines become like dogs, protecting them. Kusajishi Yakiru can't figure it out. To shut up. Akainu didn't want to explain. The world should have such a level. As long as you obey, then a better world will come. You are the same as the pirates, why don't you understand? Why do so many things happen? At this moment, Akainu also seems to be offended by the bottom line. He does not want to admit whether the upper echelon did something wrong. I just feel that the lower level, as long as they bear it obediently, there won't be so many things. Right now, the ferocious magma dog head moved toward Zaraki Kenpachi's chest. Zaraki Kenpachi's sword. There is no fancy stuff. His Zanpakuto, big and heavy, are now straight up, air or something, separated one by one. The crimson lava dog head was directly cut open. Observation Haki, let Akainu step back, and then, lava burst out. Heaven dog, something interesting. Zaraki Kenpachi shook the knife tightly. Shikai, yes, in his memory, he seems to know Shikai. But, he still straightened up the big sword in his hand like this, and slashed it up. Overbearing, rude, straightforward, Zaraki Kenpachi enjoyed the battle to his heart's content. Akainu immediately fought with Zaraki Kenpachi, and for a while, you come to me. Akainu is impatient, he just wants to win the opponent now, it's as simple as that. But Zaraki Kenpachi is different. He is enjoying. Damn it, Akainu gritted his teeth, I don't think I will be so troublesome for Kaido, 100 beasts. Akainu yelled loudly. The arm was covered with lava again, hot lava, and desperately smashed it up. Zaraki Kenpachi cuts faster and faster. After cutting off his arm. Go to Akainu's head. Next moment, Akainu's pupils shrank sharply. Zaraki Kenpachi carries a sword pressed by a hot sword, burning everything, with unmatched power. Marine Admiral, you can't lose. Marine lieutenants swarmed once again. Kizaru lost. Has already been humiliated by Naval Headquarters. Let the people on the sea question the power of Naval Headquarters. Akainu, you can't lose anymore. Now, Lieutenant General Marine, covering armament Haki one by one. Sword after sword, they cooperated and walked away in dense clusters. The helper Akainu avoided Zaraki Kenpachi's sword. None of these marine lieutenants seem to be demon fruit power. But their sword nets are densely packed. Zaraki Kenpachi drank loudly. You guys, get out of here. One sword, heavy away, with terrible strength, it burst out immediately. A Lieutenant General Marine's eyes widened and he was smashed to death. Avoid other Lieutenant Marines. But when the sword fell, the terrible wave of air swept out, with Reiatsu. 2 more Marine lieutenants were seriously injured. The remaining lieutenants were furious. We Naval Headquarters, uphold justice. We, Naval Headquarters, protect the peace and people on the sea. What about you Gotei 13? People from the East China Sea praise you, but you are not good people at all. You acted cruel, without emotion, your behavior has let us know, Gotei 13, I am afraid it is also a cruel organization. But no matter what they are, Zaraki Kenpachi seemed indifferent. Now it is raising the weapon in his hand again. You all die. At this moment, Akainu has gone around behind Zaraki Kenpachi, at the moment that Zaraki Kenpachi will be attracted by Marine. Boom. Akainu's punch was aimed at the critical point, and then he sneaked into the attack, and smashed it with a terrible punch that wrapped the hot lava. Chapter 83. Advertise here. At this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi's sword has moved towards the remaining Marine Lieutenant Generals. Akainu did not know when he had come behind Zaraki Kenpachi, his fist was clenched, his fist was burning with hot lava at the moment, and seemed to have the power to penetrate everything, and then the fist quickly slammed into the back of Zaraki Kenpachi. Go up. The Pluto Rayleigh and others on the side were all staring at this scene in a daze. At this time, Zaraki Kenpachi was really dead. This situation is quite dangerous. He will die forever. This has something to do with Akainu's sneak attack and Zaraki Kenpachi's own character. As Marine Admiral Akainu, he actually shot from behind. This is something that no one can think of. Who can imagine that this majestic Marine Admiral would do such a thing? In the eyes of many people, how could Marine Admiral do such a despicable thing as a sneak attack from behind? The other point is related to Zaraki Kenpachi's own personality. According to Pluto Rayleigh, if it were him, he would naturally choose to abandon the Marine Lieutenant General in front of him at this time, and immediately turn around to deal with Akainu. Marine's attack is similar to that of Akainu's. Compared with the attack, it is really far 18. Lieutenant General Marine's attack may cause some injuries to himself, but it is not fatal, but Akainu's attack is completely different. The power of lava is the most lethal among the three admiral. But Zaraki Kenpachi would not make such a choice. It has something to do with Zaraki Kenpachi's character and even Zaraki Kenpachi's kendo. Pluto Rayleigh played a game with Genki Kenpachi, and Pluto Rayleigh also knew something about Zaraki Kenpachi. If he had an opponent in front of him, he would definitely kill the opponent in front of him before turning around. This can be regarded as a personal way of fighting with Zaraki Kenpachi. He has always been straightforward and doesn't know how to adapt. Just chop and chop there. Very simple and rude. Doflamingo watched this scene, his mouth also coldly sketched out a smile, secretly saying that maybe he really shouldn't be killed. Sure enough, the sword that Zaraki Kenpachi slashed forward did not stop and turned towards Akainu behind him. His sword still went up towards the living Lieutenant General Marine. This sword of Zaraki Kenpachi carries a strong sword pressure, facing this sword of terrifying power. The Marines knew that they could not be opponents at all, but now they still choose to head, because they know they must head. They want to attract Zaraki Kenpachi in front of Zaraki Kenpachi, and then let Akainu Admiral get a hit. Finally Marine Lieutenant General and Zaraki Kenpachi's power collided with me. Zaraki Kenpachi roared like a bloody head. The powerful sword pressure directly cut off the swords in the hands of Marine Lieutenant Generals. The head of a Marine Lieutenant General was directly chopped off by Zaraki Kenpachi, and the blood dripped on the ground. Those Marines just dropped their heads, but they have no regrets. They firmly believe that it is correct to follow Akainu. Akainu's justice is true justice. What is it to die for justice? At the same time, Akainu's fist wrapped in terrible lava had landed on Zaraki Kenpachi's back. Even if Akainu's punch fell on a wall of steel, it could completely blast out a huge hole in the wall. However, the lava punch that fell on the back of Zaraki Kenpachi did not penetrate the wall of Zaraki Kenpachi body. There was a Reiatsu protecting Zaraki Kenpachi, but Zaraki Kenpachi noticed the abnormality in his back. But Zaraki Kenpachi seemed to be numb, and his mouth turned savagely, so he turned his head. Want to kill me? You will be stronger. Akainu snorted even more at this moment. Devil Fruit's power rioted. At this moment, his whole body was covered by rolling lava. He knew that his fist had landed on Zaraki Kenpachi's back, just a little bit. Now he is going to do it. It is to strengthen one's own strength and penetrate Zaraki Kenpachi thoroughly. Devil Fruit has the power to take it to the next level. That is the awakening of Devil Fruit. But Logia Devil Fruit, can you awaken? In the eyes of many people, it is a suspicious thing. At this time, the power of Akainu has indeed risen. But isn't Devil Fruit awakening? Akainu didn't know. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Anyway, at this moment, Akainu seems to have lost his mind, his face is burning with flames. Powerful force. Finally, it's deeper. Zaraki Kenpachi's back seemed to be pushed in. However, there was no blood coming out. Blood. Do I still have blood? Speaking of film Akainu's incomprehensible words. Zaraki Kenpachi finally turned around completely. The terrible sword smashed up again. Akainu was smashed. However, but the lava quickly gathered together again. Where is Shikai? Akainu shouted angrily. Kizaru said, your Zanpakuto can hurt your soul, why can't you? Want to know? Zaraki Kenpachi suddenly smiled coldly. A sword. Kusajishi Yakiru thought of something and exclaimed. Zaraki Kenpachi was silent for a while, and didn't want to continue speaking on this topic. Akainu and Zaraki Kenpachi are facing each other at this moment. The atmosphere is serious. Let me help you. Doflamingo walked up. In order to survive, he must help Akainu. At the same time, he glanced at Pluto Rayleigh, and said, I don't want those secrets to be exposed after I die. At that time, Akainu glared. Pluto Lay 200 is also frowning. Doflamingo knows some secrets that shouldn't be known. Sengoku of the Buddha also told Akainu about this point. In other words, even if Naval Headquarters catches Doflamingo in the future, he must be given special care. Pluto Rayleigh clenched his fists. Aunt Shaw immediately said, this is their business, Rayleigh. I didn't do it for this flamingo. Pluto Rayleigh solemnly said, I am for the sea. Doflamingo, you can't have an accident at this time. Not yet time. Pluto Rayleigh also walked up. Akainu didn't say much. At this moment, he is standing on his left with Doflamingo, who has already awakened Devil Fruit, and on his right, who is old, but the basis should not be underestimated. Admiral can temporarily compete with Admiral, and Admiral may even be afraid of it even in a desperate battle. Pluto Rayleigh, a GN, Kusajishi Yakiru called from the side. Zaraki Kenpachi did not expect that he would face this situation, excited, so excited. This world, finally made me a little excited. Then it's time for me. But at this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi's hand moved towards his blindfold. This is called Akainu and frowned. Zaraki Kenpachi's other eye, isn't it blind? Chapter 84. Advertise here. Blindfold. Under the circumstances, isn't it blind? Zaraki Kenpachi had reached out at this moment and slowly took off his blindfold. That face is even more fierce, the corner of Zaraki Kenpachi's mouth is grinning. Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo frowned, why? Are his eyes good? A GN1. At this moment, Kusajishi Yakiru's voice appeared extremely clear. Called Akainu, Rayleigh, Doflamingo suddenly had an ominous premonition. The Spirit Palace. Chen Tian is also watching this battle in the Chambord Islands. While watching the battle, he asked the system, my new Zanpakuto, what is it? Open black lens bracket Minazuki close black lens bracket. Chen Tian's eyes were bright. This is the rare biology department Zanpakuto. And its owner is Unohana Retsu. At first I watched Shinigami, and felt gentle, but after I understood it, I realized that the woman who had caused one after another great horror. Ding, congratulations on getting Akainu 10,000 shock points. Ding, congratulations on getting the Pluto Rayleigh 10,000 shock points. Ding, congratulations on getting Doflamingo 10,000 shock points. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. It is a pity that what Chen Tian wants most is not the shock point, but Rukongai. If Rukongai appears, it will definitely call the quality of Soul Society and take it to the next level. Chen Tian's vast gaze once again surrendered to the present world, Chambord Islands, see that Zaraki Kenpachi finally took off the blindfold. Chen Tian nodded. The eye patch on the right eye is an item developed by the Development Bureau, which allows him to reduce Reiatsu to the same level as his opponent, so that he can slowly enjoy the fun of fighting. This eye patch will always suppress Reiatsu, who consumes Kenpachi. When Kenpachi took off the blindfold, Reiatsu was one of the 13 captains. The word one of the best, is the point. This world. Chambord Islands. When the blindfold was taken off, Zaraki Kenpachi's smile was so terrible in the eyes of Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, and Doflamingo. At last, Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo, etc. felt something, their eyes tightened. Boom. Reiatsu, as on the rise. The Reiatsu on Zaraki Kenpachi's body has become more and more full-bodied. Boom. Reiatsu covers the whole body. The terrible beginning to skyrocket. Among Reiatsu, Zaraki Kenpachi can't see clearly. The fierce Reiatsu, keep moving forward. Read more at mtlarchive.com. The earth is shaking at this moment. The people in the Chambord Islands just felt that the end had come, and their complexions changed drastically, some of them trembled and urinated. Some even knelt down, hoping that all disasters would pass. What the hell is going on today? Suddenly there was a flame. Later, I heard that Celestial Dragons was dead. What's going on now? Why is the earth shaking so badly? Chambord Islands, won't it sink? No way. The sea outside the Chambord Islands also fluctuated at this moment, surging more and more crazily. Reiatsu, headed towards the sky. The clouds began to roll violently, and then dark clouds filled with thunder and lightning. The terrible Reiatsu stunned Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, and Doflamingo. His blindfold, it turns out that what suppresses is his true power. Pluto Rayleigh has a heavy tone. Doflamingo doesn't know what to say anymore. This Reiatsu makes him feel that his soul is trembling, and makes him want to kneel. He hates this thought in his heart, but Zaraki Kenpachi he was so tough that he really didn't know what to do. Gotei 13. Akainu's eyes widened now, and he paused every word, chanting these 5 words in an extremely solemn and deep tone. A squad captain, so terrible. So, among the 13 captains of the 13th division, which one is the strongest? How strong should it be? At this moment, Akainu can't imagine it. Of course, it is not suitable to think about it at the moment. Obviously, let's go through this challenge first, let's talk about it. Let's go together, Pluto Rayleigh said with dignity as his predecessors and even those who came over. To deal with an opponent that is difficult for one to defeat, you must let go of all prejudices, and it's time to join forces. The Marine of the Year. The Roger Pirates of the Year. In order to fight against such a terrifying existence as Locks. To everyone's surprise, they joined forces. At this moment, it's also time to join forces. Akainu snorted, but thinking of the current situation, he nodded. He has always been confident in his strength. However, at present, he is not 100% sure that he can defeat Zaraki Kenpachi. Doflamingo naturally nodded at the first time. He didn't want to die. Now he wants to return to Dressrosa. Pluto Rayleigh shot, slashed. Meteor volcano, wild waves and white lines. Suddenly, he collided with Reiatsu of Rayleigh of Hades. Suddenly, terrible explosions and roars swept away, and the Chambord Islands was shaken severely. Some people were directly killed by the aftermath. Even if they are not dead, some people are deaf and feel that they have become deaf. Zaraki Kenpachi is still standing there, with a hideous face under the cover of Reiatsu. Kusajishi Yakiru stood behind Zaraki Kenpachi, and Kusajishi Yakiru felt safe. Next moment, Akainu, Doflamingo, Pluto Rayleigh's slash, lava and silk thread were destroyed one by one. Before Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu, it was so fragile. Pluto Rayleigh, Zaraki Kenpachi, and Doflamingo were shocked and unbelievable to the extreme. They are even more unacceptable. This Gotei 13, just a squad captain, can he be so tough? In this case, how can you compete with Gotei 13 in the future? What kind of joke is this? Quote. Are you the strongest in Gotei 13? Quote. Pluto Rayleigh looked solemn and finally asked this question. Akainu and Doflamingo are also attracted by this question. I want to know Zaraki Kenpachi's answer. In Doflamingo's opinion, yes, this guy, Reiatsu alone, seems to be above the Byakuya Kuchiki he observed from a distance. This Zaraki Kenpachi should be the strongest of the 13 captains, right? Akainu's thinking is also different from Doflamingo, but the process of thinking is different. If Zaraki Kenpachi is not the strongest, it would be too. Am I the strongest? Zaraki Kenpachi moved his right. Walking towards Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo approached, covering Reiatsu, and the earth collapsed with every step he took. Unfortunately, I am not yet. Zaraki Kenpachi grinned again like a sickle. He always wanted to be the strongest. Not yet. And his words, also called Pluto Rayleigh, Akainu, Doflamingo trembled. How come? With such a strong force, isn't it the strongest among the 13 captains? Chapter 85. Advertise here. After hearing these words from Zaraki Kenpachi, Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo and others did not believe it at all. What kind of joke is this? When the power reaches this level, it will directly cause the surrounding mountains to collapse, and the situation will change suddenly. How can this power not be the first among the Gotei 13 captains? Zaraki Kenpachi, who was covered with the terrible Reiatsu, was walking over. Spider web-like cracks appeared where he walked. The earth was collapsing, and the sea was rushing up from below. Obviously this power is too strong, so Zaraki Kenpachi couldn't help carrying this terrifying Reiatsu when he walked by. Now is not the time for us to froze, it's time to cooperate. Pluto Rayleigh yelled. Sometimes the cooperation between pirate and marine can show peculiar power, just like defeating Rock's pirate. Now Pluto Rayleigh stretched out his hand. He shook the sword tightly, and then slashed it fiercely. Under this sword, a slash carried a little bit of brilliance, and at a speed that people could not respond, it slashed towards Zaraki Kenpachi again. The howling wind and terrible slashes moved people to face that. In the oncoming attack, Zaraki Kenpachi showed his teeth like fangs. Facing the slash of Rayleigh of Hades, he walked up 200 without evasive. Finally, the horrible slash that was enough to split the mountain reached Zaraki Kenpachi and was completely destroyed by Reiatsu, who was directly outside of Zaraki Kenpachi. Find a way to make me more excited, can you guys do it? Zaraki Kenpachi roared at the moment. This is too despising people. It seems that because of the relationship between Akainu and Pluto Rayleigh next to him, Doflamingo now has a trace of confidence, and then the silk threads are rushing out, densely packed towards Zaraki again. Kenpachi left, and under the sun, these silk threads showed a sharp cold light like a sword. The strength of the fruit of Doflamingo after awakening, these silk threads are comparable to some big sharp knives, and the degree of hardness has exceeded everyone's imagination. However, in the face of Doflamingo's extremely sharp thread, Zaraki Kenpachi still did not resist. He did not stop and continued to move forward. Finally, the thread collided with Reiatsu outside of Zaraki Kenpachi. Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu is different from other Shinigami's Reiatsu. It carries a terrifying murderousness, just like the real Reiatsu. The silk thread began to disappear under Reiatsu's power. Facing Zaraki Kenpachi getting closer and closer, Doflamingo was already shaking. At this moment, he felt the breath of death again and was approaching himself. Will die. Doflamingo took a deep breath. Is he really going to die here today? Thinking of this, Doflamingo really wanted to escape. He hoped that Akainu and Pluto Rayleigh could help them delay this Zaraki Kenpachi. According to Doflamingo, it can still be done. Whether it is Pluto Rayleigh or Akainu, he must do this, even if he has now been removed from the Celestial Dragon's identity, but he used to be Celestial Dragons, he has some secrets, he must not die. Now Doflamingo gave Pluto Rayleigh and Akainu a look. The meaning in his eyes, both Pluto Rayleigh and Akainu understood. Pluto Rayleigh didn't say much, but Akainu snorted, secretly saying that 7 warlords of the sea is a scum. Incompetent bungler. But when Doflamingo wanted to escape, he was stunned to find something, his legs were trembling and unable to move. Do not. Prepared to say, as if the soul is trembling. Shaking and unable to go. How could this be? Doflamingo was stunned, never expected that Reiatsu of the other party was terrible to such a level. You can't walk away even if you call his body. The 7 warlords of the sea system shouldn't exist. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Justice, you don't need 7 warlords of the sea. Akainu thinks Doflamingo is too useless, right? He snorted, with a scorching breath and killing intent, and locked Zaraki Kenpachi in front of him again. No matter how strong Zaraki Kenpachi is, Akainu can brave the fish fight. Akainu never feared anyone. Now, in the form of lava, Akainu, exuding a terrible, scorching breath, went directly to Zaraki Kenpachi. With his right fist, at this moment, magma has gathered again. Then, the punch directly blasted up. If you are still like this, you are no longer my opponent. This punch of Akainu cannot be said to be not strong. With a sudden force, the power to penetrate everything. Unfortunately, after taking off the blindfold, Zaraki Kenpachi, Reiatsu is one of the best, but he doesn't like Akainu. Right now, Zaraki Kenpachi raised the sword in his hand and slashed it. Just now, Zaraki Kenpachi's sword, rude, domineering, and already very strong. After taking off the blindfold, Zaraki Kenpachi's sword, this sword, with terrible heat, also slashed up. The lava, and the hot sword pressure, directly called some plants in the Chambord Islands, and in an instant, they were all on fire. The flames that had already calmed down are now being reburned. It's terrible. The ingredients in the air have burned out one by one. Canine-tooth red lotus blooms. The magma dog's head slammed on Akainu's fist. The scorching high temperature made the air begin to twist. The heat of sword pressure is equally extraordinary. Right now, boom, the sword pressure and the magma crashed together. The hot aftermath visible to the naked eye quickly spread towards the surroundings. Many people in the Chambord Islands were directly burned to ashes. The once beautiful Chambord Islands have now become islands of flames, burning with a sea of scorching fire. It is really terrifying. Pluto, Rayleigh and Doflamingo also displayed the power of slashing and string fruit to help Akainu. Justice, it is impossible to lose. Akainu yelled angrily. With the help of Pluto, Rayleigh and Doflamingo, now covered in lava, he headed towards Zaraki Kenpachi again. Zaraki Kenpachi is holding a sword at the moment, under the cover of Reiatsu. His appearance is a bit unclear. He doesn't look like a person, but a fierce beast at all. The extremely sharp sword pressed, and at the same time, he slashed at Akainu again. Give Akainu a fatal feeling. Akainu's pupils shrank sharply, and he gritted his teeth, not believing that justice would lose to the opponent. Akainu firmly believes that a righteous self, even if it is facing a disadvantage, can definitely turn defeat into victory at a critical time. Right now, Akainu condensed magma fists, did not choose to dodge, but chose head-to-head, and went straight up. Click. Next moment, something seems to be broken. Chapter 86. Advertise here. Broken. At first, Pluto, Rayleigh and Doflamingo thought that Akainu had their own support, and Akainu finally broke Zaraki Kenpachi's sword, or broke Zaraki Kenpachi's arm or something. But I never thought that at this moment, Akainu backs up again and again, but the right arm on his already elemental body is broken, and the bones in it seem to be cut off. Akainu's mouth is twitching now, looking very painful, but Akainu he was a man of iron and blood, but he did not call out. Doflamingo looked at this scene and couldn't believe it. Zaraki Kenpachi doesn't cover armament hockey. Can it be done? Pluto, Rayleigh has noticed what? Seriously said. In fact, it may not be Akainu's right arm that broke, but the soul on the right arm. This explanation is really F***king, but Pluto, Rayleigh feels that this explanation is quite close to the truth. Now Akainu's footsteps are retreating, and the magma on his right arm is bursting. His arm looks intact, but Akainu's left hand is protecting his right arm. It seems that there really is some serious injury to that right arm. Same. Akainu is now looking solemnly in front of him. He didn't expect that he would have Doflamingo and Pluto, Rayleigh to assist him, but his strength, between Zaraki Kenpachi and Zaraki Kenpachi, is still so much worse. He has fallen into a disadvantage. Maybe today I am going to die here. Thinking of this, Akainu looked serious. Unprecedented dignity. You can't be Gotei 13's opponents at all. How can your strengths rival Gotei 13? As I said earlier, my strength is not the strongest among Gotei 13 captains. Zaraki Kenpachi is also grinning now. Although he has always been competitive, he still knows how much he ranks in the Gotei 13 captain. All in all, the first three I am afraid he can't get in. Are you really telling the truth? Pluto, Rayleigh has always wondered if Zaraki Kenpachi is fighting a psychological war with himself. When he is so tough, how could it be that he is not the strongest in the Gotei 13 captain? At the same time, Pluto, Rayleigh's sword had moved towards Zaraki Kenpachi. His sword collided with the big sword in Zaraki Kenpachi's hand. The next moment Pluto, Rayleigh's feet sank slightly, and the ground under his feet quickly spread out centered on him. Well, like a spider web, it collapses and collapses layer by layer. His kendo skills cannot be said to be so brilliant, but this brute force is really terrible. Pluto, Rayleigh was secretly surprised, and Zaraki Kenpachi's attack was not fancy, it was completely against the opponent with the ultimate strength. When it comes to power, Whitebeard is very powerful, but the current Pluto, Rayleigh feels that if the current Whitebeard compares brute force with Zaraki Kenpachi, he will be weaker. Pluto dog. Seeing Pluto, Rayleigh seemingly dragged Zaraki Kenpachi, Akainu gritted his teeth to endure the pain in his right arm. His right arm was covered by lava again, and then he continued to punch him up. Akainu can endure the sharp pain in his right arm, which is beyond Zaraki Kenpachi's expectation. Zaraki Kenpachi also has to admire that this is a real man. Now Akainu's lava fist followed closely behind, and it was so powerful that it hit Zaraki Kenpachi's head again. This is the deadly part. If Akainu's punch fell on Zaraki Kenpachi's head, what would happen? Others will definitely die, but if the opponent is Zaraki Kenpachi, then it will be different. Thinking of this, Doflamingo knows that he must help. Suddenly, the silk threads were sharp, and began to surging densely like a sea tide. It swept up again, and the next moment, I wanted to tie Zaraki Kenpachi's legs. At last. Read more at mtlarchive.com. The silk thread tied Zaraki Kenpachi's legs, but soon, under Reiatsu, the silk thread or something began to burn, Zaraki Kenpachi's Reiatsu, with murderous intent and hot power. Damn it, if that doesn't work, then I can only do it myself. Thinking of this, Doflamingo swooped up directly, and then hugged Zaraki Kenpachi's legs. Under Reiatsu, Doflamingo sensed the pain of the soul, but he still hugged Zaraki Kenpachi's legs tightly. Pluto Rayleigh dragged Zaraki Kenpachi's right hand with the sword. And his Doflamingo hugged Zaraki Kenpachi's legs again. This was originally a way for ruffians to fight. Doflamingo didn't expect that he would actually use this method now, in this way. Find flowers. Akainu's lava giant fist came directly to Zaraki Kenpachi's head. If Akainu can't win yet. Boom. Finally, Akainu's terrible fist landed on Zaraki Kenpachi's head, making a terrible bang. In the eyes of Pluto Rayleigh and Doflamingo, everything should be solved, right? But, Zaraki Kenpachi, who was hit in the head, did suffer some injuries. Your cooperation this time is very good. Zaraki Kenpachi, who was hit in the head, was even more excited. Pain, yes, you make me feel the pain. But can you do better? If not, then what awaits you will be a tragic end. 0. Zaraki Kenpachi laughed frantically. You weak people, dare to provoke Seireitei. I have to say, it's really a miracle. His Reiatsu is still rising. Now that you have some qualifications, let you see my shikai. Shikai. Correct. This guy still has shikai, but he didn't show it. With Zaraki Kenpachi's words, now the Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo, Akainu and other 3 people are stunned. Aunt Shaw who was watching the game was also shocked and didn't know what to say. Hit now. They all overlooked this. That is, the opponent still has Shikai's hand, which has not been displayed yet. Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo, etc. all gritted their teeth. Akainu's fist, covered with lava, hit Zaraki Kenpachi's head once, again. Boom, boom, boom. But Zaraki Kenpachi's head is too hard and too cheap. Akainu smashed like crazy. Instead, Zaraki Kenpachi laughed more excitedly. Pluto Rayleigh's sword is still confronting Zaraki Kenpachi's sword. He solemnly said, yeah, I almost forgot, you still have shikai, you are so strong, in Gotei 13, if not first, then second what? You should be second, right? Pluto Rayleigh's voice is extremely heavy. Before he wanted to come, his guess this time should be correct, right? In Gotei 13, the second strongest, should it be this person? Chuan. Chapter 87. Advertise here. Second. Unexpectedly, Zaraki Kenpachi couldn't help laughing at this moment. Bang bang bang. While he was smiling, Akainu's fist was still hitting Zaraki Kenpachi's head, his head was compressed like a ball, and then bounced back. But there were no substantial injuries. Akainu gritted his teeth. Not only is the system different, it seems that even the physical body is different. What is going on here? At this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi, who was beaten to the head, thought for a while, and said in a complicated tone, unfortunately, I am not second. You want to be enemies with Gotei 13, don't you? You are simply seeking your own death. Quiet. Silence. Silence is death. The whole space fell into a dead silence with these words of Zaraki Kenpachi. Akainu's lava fist has not fallen anymore. Akainu is also in shock. It's not just him. It can be said that the words of Zaraki Kenpachi, called Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, and Doflamingo were stunned at the same time. I think this is simply impossible. They were suddenly unacceptable. They even wonder if they have heard something wrong. Zaraki Kenpachi is so strong that he is not the second strongest among Gotei 13. Is this wrong? Then, where does Zaraki Kenpachi rank? How strong is a guy stronger than Zaraki Kenpachi? No, it's impossible. After Doflamingo finally reacted at this moment, he shook his head again and again, thinking that he must be dreaming, right? How can such an ordinary organization exist in this human world? Gotei 13, if it is really like what Zaraki Kenpachi said, it is just a 4 emperors pirate group, not an opponent at all. I am afraid that the 4 emperors must join forces, right? But it is obviously impossible for the 4 emperors to join forces with this kind of thing. Pluto Rayleigh's scalp is also tingling. In Gotei 13, there is something stronger than Zaraki Kenpachi, not just one. There is no doubt that an organization that has gathered so many powerful people cannot be a new one. It must have existed a long time ago. But Pluto Rayleigh is depressed, why didn't he know it before? Isn't it a human organization? But from Kakai. Pluto Rayleigh is close to reality, but the limitations of the world view only remind him of Kakai. What about third? You can always be third, right? Pluto Rayleigh gasped. The sword is trying its best to compete with Zaraki Kenpachi's sword. At the same time, with enough strength, I asked this sentence again. Doflamingo, Akainu thinks, this time it should be correct. Read more at mtlarchive.com. It's not the second, so it should always be the third, right? But after Zaraki groaned under the sword pressure, he still said, it's not afraid. Even so. But in his tone, he was not lost. It seems that the more people who are better than him, the better. In this way, he has the value of living. Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo, Akainu. After a while, Akainu furiously shouted, stop kidding, who are you fooling? If you talk nonsense, do you want to play psychological warfare? But Marine, you won't be deceived by these words. Akainu yelled. In any case, I can't believe that there will be such an organization. If it is so strong, naval headquarters is not an opponent at all. Unless the world government aspect is added. Of course, it is the situation where 5 elders and world government take the initiative to defeat it. But Akainu did not believe that there would be such a force. What do you think of naval headquarters? Are you a bunch of idiots who are easily deceived by you? Because of the anger, the fruit's power seemed to be stronger, and Akainu's eyes condensed and he shouted angrily. He has never been as angry as he is today. Now, full of anger, karst rolling, terrible smoke enlightenment, straight into the sky. In the end, how many strong people are in Seireitei? As long as you take you down, everything will be known. Billowing lava, so hot that it now wraps Akainu's fist. The scorching heat caused the atmosphere to start to boil. The Chambord Islands are now in flames. Do you really think you have a chance to defeat me? I've played enough too. After Zaraki Kenpachi shouted. Devour it. Zaraki Kenpachi yelled at the moment. He didn't call out Zanpakuto's name thoroughly. But Reiatsu started to boil. It has risen to a terrible level again. Zaraki Kenpachi drank loudly. Enough fun. Then, there seemed to be a flash of blood in his eyes. Enough playing. What are you kidding? Akainu was furious. Meteor volcano. Suddenly, the fist blasted again, and flame-like spheres, like small meteorites, fell down. It's really not to be underestimated. Pluto Rayleigh yelled and raised the sword in his hand, condensing all his energy. Then he hacked it up fiercely. A terrifying slash appeared in the space, shattering everything. This is the strongest slash of Pluto Rayleigh, enough to leave a wound on Kaido, the beast. Fight with you. Doflamingo knew his fate and decided at this moment. In order to survive, the power of Doflamingo's string fruit now seems to be even more terrifying. A white line has become a black line, with the sharp cold light of a big knife. The power of the three is now superimposed together, like a natural disaster. There is a terrible scene, the power is terrifying, and it makes people fearful. At this moment, there are no outsiders in the Chambord Islands. Marine soldiers also withdrew immediately. Only Aunt Shaw and Kusajishi Yakiru were watching the game. Aunt Shaw's face was tense, her fists clenched, knowing that at this moment, Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo are truly cooperating, and their strengths are combined. This is the power of miracles. Will a miracle happen like the defeat of Locks? When the mind is matched, the power generated will not be as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Such power suddenly fell on Zaraki Kenpachi, as if he wanted to swallow Zaraki Kenpachi. The Chambord Islands, under such power, coupled with the previous battle, completely collapsed. The earth broke apart, and this island will no longer exist after today. At the same time, looking at Zaraki Kenpachi who was swallowed by this force and gradually lost his figure. Akainu, Doflamingo, and Pluto Rayleigh could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. This wave stabilized. At the same time, Akainu looked at the Pluto Rayleigh and Doflamingo coldly, and wondered if he could solve these two guys here by the way. Just at this time, I heard it. Your name. Swallow it. Nozarashi. Chapter 88. Advertise here. Chapter 87. Reiatsu. It became very scary. At this moment, Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo, etc. only felt that breathing seemed to become difficult. Such shikai. The pressure it brings is more terrifying than shikai of Byakuya Kuchiki. Could it be that he uses this as a sharpening stone? Thinking of something, Pluto Rayleigh's eyes tightened. Doflamingo's lips trembled, but at the moment he couldn't say anything. Now he doesn't understand, why is he being targeted by Seireitei? And it was not Byakuya Kuchiki who was chasing him, but the monster-like Zaraki Kenpachi. He teamed up with Pluto Rayleigh and Akainu, but they couldn't beat Zaraki Kenpachi 100%. What kind of joke is this again? Akainu stood there coldly. At this moment, the Chambordian Islands had been divided. They are on one of the $28. Standing there, Akainu looked calmer than Pluto Rayleigh and Doflamingo. Pluto Rayleigh, who has adapted to a leisurely life, is no longer the hero who was the deputy captain of the Roger Pirates. Doflamingo, I don't know when he started, forgetting his original 18th dream. It is farther and farther away from the 3 words One Piece, or something else, but it's just an arms dealer or something. But Akainu is different. He believes that justice will prevail. At this moment, he is still obsessed with justice, thinking that justice must be the final victory. Now that Zaraki Kenpachi reappears, and sure enough, Zanpakuto in Zaraki Kenpachi's hands is different from just now, and has changed a lot. The guard is a 3-dimensional polygon, the blade is slightly uneven, and the handle is wrapped with a white cloth strip. Zanpakuto has a huge blade with a curved line near the handle, and a long-handled knife with long tassels falls into the end of the hole. Pluto Rayleigh took a deep breath. What kind of weird knife is this? Doflamingo's face was pale and bloodless. Is such a knife a murder or a slasher? Do not. It's a chop. And he, Doflamingo, if it is very possible, will die today. Thinking of this, Doflamingo only felt a chill, rushing to the heavenly spirit cover. Growing up so big, there has never been such a moment of fear. All in all 3 of them are now vigilant. However, Zaraki Kenpachi moved and came with a huge machete. Maybe the power is too strong. Or maybe this machete is too heavy. Or maybe it's Zaraki Kenpachi's offensive method, which was originally like this. Read more at mtlarchive.com. At this moment, a huge wind and sand were raised, and they were facing Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, and Doflamingo. Facing Zaraki Kenpachi's powerful offense, Akainu and others all grunted and then shot them one by one. But now it's just a light bump together. Suddenly, the three guys Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, and Doflamingo were shaken out at the same time. Pluto Rayleigh and Akainu were shaken back. Pluto Rayleigh took 5 more steps back than Akainu, and Doflamingo it was different, he was directly kicked out. Smashed aside. At this moment, there are no buildings in the surrounding area. The marine soldiers who are already on the warship on the sea can clearly see the battle at this moment, and they are all dumbfounded. Oh my god, I'm dreaming. Tell me, I must be dreaming. The marine soldiers who saw this scene with binoculars couldn't believe what they saw. At this moment, they hope their companions can wake them up. However, his comrades were also staring now, and they never thought that they would see such a scene with their own eyes. No, you are not dreaming. Just now I also saw our Akainu Admiral, but it was simply shaken back. It's not just you, I have seen it too. How can such a horrible thing really happen? You know, Akainu Admiral is the one with the highest attack power among the 3 Admiral. Yes, but how could such a thing happen? Marine aboard the warship, they are the soldiers who fled from the warship on the Chambord Islands in a panic. Now they have pale faces and difficult voices, and their tone of voice is full of endless fear. The person with the highest status on this warship is a major general. Now he clenched his fist and shouted, the opponent is only temporarily in the upper hand. I believe that soon Akainu will let the other party know that the true power of Admiral of Headquarters of. However, his voice just fell, but Zaraki Kenpachi had raised the huge machete in her hand to Doflamingo. She didn't forget it. Although he looked rude, Zaraki Kenpachi still remembered the task that the Spirit King gave him, that is to kill this Doflamingo. Come and save me. Doflamingo has just gotten up from the ground, but he hasn't fully reacted yet, but Zaraki Kenpachi, who has a ferocious face, has already come to him and raised the huge machete high up, as if he was about to chop himself into pieces. At this moment, Akainu and Pluto Rayleigh went up at the same time, trying to block Zaraki Kenpachi's actions. They deeply understood, Doflamingo can't die now. Now as soon as they rushed up, they defended together, hoping to block Zaraki Kenpachi's attack. Kendo, 2 breaks, but the machete cut by Zaraki Kenpachi at this moment is very different from the previous sword pressure. But seeing Zaraki Kenpachi now holding the handle of the knife with both hands, he slashed it up. The golden Reiatsu is terrible. Next moment, Pluto Rayleigh, Akainu felt death at the same time. They seemed to see the terrible scene of death before they blocked this move. When the terrible slash of Zaraki Kenpachi fell, Pluto Rayleigh, Akainu already knew that it was impossible to save Doflamingo. If I stop here again, I am afraid that it will only be buried with Doflamingo. At last, Pluto Rayleigh, Akainu jumped up immediately. But this slash also affected the space, and this aftermath also shook away Pluto Rayleigh and Akainu. Pluto Rayleigh rolled 3 times on the ground before he stopped. Akainu is young, relying on a strong physique to forcibly make the city lord, but also panting. Do not. Doflamingo didn't expect things to be like this. Now, Zaraki Kenpachi's machete was slashed. Immediately, Doflamingo is a living person, at this time, directly crushed. Disappeared. Looking at this scene, I thought that Akainu would definitely win a round just now, and the marine soldiers who showed up were all stupid. There is no doubt, Akainu, this guy, we can't deal with it. Pluto Rayleigh said weakly, his physical strength, here, there is only a little left. It's a pity that you didn't cooperate with me when you were young. Akainu said solemnly, Pluto Rayleigh, but he thinks that even when he was young, plus Akainu, he wouldn't be able to beat Zaraki Kenpachi 100%. Right now, Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh glanced at each other, knowing that it wasn't about these things now. This Zaraki Kenpachi is terrible. Do not. The real scary thing is Seireitei behind him. Seireitei, why kill Doflamingo? This organization. What is the purpose? At this moment, Zaraki Kenpachi looked at them again. The atmosphere is solemn. On the same side, in the distance, above the sea, the marine soldiers who watched the battle with binoculars glanced at each other and swallowed hard. Must be reported to the headquarters. Yes, we will tell Marshal Sengoku now. Chapter 89. Advertise here. Originally, when Akainu came to the Chambord Islands, they asked them to report to Marshal Sengoku as soon as possible. However, when they wanted to do this, they found that their phone worm had something wrong, and his phone worm was also there. Trembling. At this moment, the Marines on the warship took out the phone worm and found that the phone worm was shaking more severely now. If this is the case, it really affects communication, but there is no other way. The matter has reached such a point that even if the communication is not effective, it must be reported to Marshal Sengoku. Doflamingo is dead, celestial dragons are also too dead, the beautiful Chambord Islands are gone, and Marines are at a disadvantage against Akainu. Putting such an event on the ocean is definitely a big event and there is nothing wrong with it. This is Naval Headquarters, Malin Vander. In Marshal Marine's office, Marshal Sengoku corrected some documents as always. At this moment, his expression seemed a lot lighter, and he asked 7 warlords of the sea to deal with Seireitei. Akainu also secretly brought a few lieutenants to follow, preparing for a snipe and clam fight, and the fisherman made a profit and started secretly. In this way, catching a Seireitei guy, the chance of success is still very high. Bulu, Bulu, Bulu. The phone worm suddenly placed on the table screamed. Sengoku of Buddha put down the pen in his hand and picked up the phone. The worm said solemnly in his voice, "Hey, here it is. Naval Headquarters. Sengoku. Marshal Sengoku, here we are, the Marine branch of the Chambord Islands. Chambord Islands. Let's talk, there is something to report." Buddha Sengoku asked immediately, while also thinking about what would happen. You should know that the General Marine branch base will not directly call yourself, unless something very important happens, then what will happen to the Chambord Islands? Was Celestial Dragons guilty, was beaten, or Hades Rayleigh decided to come back out of the arena? Yes, in his opinion, there are only two important things. If there is a third one, it is the meeting of the pirate supernova here and so on. Marshal Sengoku. Yes, it is Jingalingting, the 11th Division Captain Zaraki Kenpachi of Jingalingting, he is now in the Chambord group, on the Chambord Islands. That's it, then you hurry up and tell 7 warlords of the sea, let them temporarily deal with this guy who Seireitei came. Marine Marshal Sengoku said as planned. He believes that Akainu will definitely hear the news, and then when the opponent is injured in a fight with 7 warlords of the sea, or when the opponent has some injuries after defeating 7 warlords of the sea, or when the opponent starts to lose strength and fatigue, it's time for Akainu to make a move. 7 warlords of the sea cooperates with Akainu, several lieutenants brought by Akainu, and a group of marine soldiers. In the view of Sengoku of Buddha, even if it is facing Whitebeard can't please. Sengoku of Buddha now secretly expresses that this wave is stable. No, Marshal Sengoku, 7 warlords of the sea Hawkeye, Tyrant Bear, Hancock, etc. have been defeated by Seireitei, 6th Division guys, and now the guys are from Seireitei 11th Division. Sengoku of Buddha frowned slightly when he heard these words. 6th Division. The 11th team. Seireitei has more and more characters appearing on the surface. From Sengoku's point of view, this is a good thing. Why will the 11th squad come? It should be the 6th Division team defeated, right? Thinking of this, Buddha Sengoku nodded slightly, and Marine Headquarters finally saved some dignity. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Secretly, Akainu is still doing things, it's much more reliable. Immediately said. Akainu has done a good job, tell Akainu that after returning, there will naturally be in Naval Headquarters and World Government. However, Major General Marine on the phone worm was quite depressed. When Marshal Marine finished speaking, he dared to speak. This 7 warlords of the sea has already lost to the 6th Division team, and then left this 11th Division. The squad appeared to hunt down Doflamingo. Now, Doflamingo has been killed, and Akainu Admiral is at a disadvantage. What? The Buddha Sengoku heard this and wondered if he had heard something wrong. 7 warlords of the sea was defeated by the 6th Division team. Now, Doflamingo is dead. No, I wonder if some of his subordinates will expose some secrets after he died. At the same time, Akainu is at a disadvantage. This allowed Sengoku of the Buddha to take a deep breath. The current situation is not good for Naval Headquarters. Holding the phone worm, he said, let Akainu find a way to escape. The opponent is so crowded. This 11th team seems to have a lot of people here. Akainu is not an opponent and it is normal. Tell him that he wins or loses. It's commonplace in the military, it's no big deal. However, Major General Marine on the opposite side was even more stunned when he heard Sengoku's words. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and spoke weakly. This Sengoku Marshal, the other party. What? Sengoku of Buddha heard the intermittent voice in the phone bug and said. There are too many people on the other side. Is now also attacking you. Then you quickly order the retreat and save your strength. Naval Headquarters can understand your retreat. Quote. He felt that this Major General was a bit ignorant. If there are too many people on the other side, of course you have to retreat first and find a safe place. Do you still choose to head? Sometimes it is wise to learn to retreat. Major General was a little depressed, he glanced at the battlefield in the distance. Doflamingo is dead. Zaraki Kenpachi glanced at Akainu, and after Rayleigh, he shook his head, feeling bored. He walked over and put Kusajishi Yakiru on his shoulder. Ajien, it looks like he is leaving, and he will report to the Spirit King. Quote. Is he leaving? Pluto Rayleigh breathed a sigh of relief. Do not make jokes. But at this moment Akainu rushed up. Pluto Rayleigh couldn't believe why the tank, Akainu rushed up and gave it away. The obvious difference in strength has already appeared. As everyone knows, the idea of Akainu at this moment is that Naval Headquarters will definitely send other admiral to support itself. As long as he persists until the teammate arrives, he will be fine. I must go back and report to the Spirit King, I am not in the mood to accompany you. Zaraki Kenpachi shook his head, he needs a stronger opponent, not Akainu. Akainu's strength, moves, he has figured out the account. Right now, the machete slashed directly up. Boom. Akainu, who was in the lava body, was knocked out again. Akainu's feet slid on the ground and slid out more than 20 meters before they could stop. Looking at this scene, the Major General on the warship, all over with cold, hurriedly said to the phone, No, Marshal Sengoku. The opponent has only one person, but Akainu Admiral is really no opponent. Chapter 90. Advertise here. Chapter 90 Akainu. I already know where Seireitei is. What did you just say? Hearing this sentence from the phone bug, Sengoku frowned, and seriously wondered if he had heard something wrong. His tone is full of deep doubts. Is it a person, just a person? Can actually deal with Akainu and several marine lieutenants. Kizaru was defeated by Gotei 13 team captain, and now 7 warlords of the sea was defeated by the 6th team guys. Now Akainu and several marine lieutenants were defeated by the Gotei 13 11th team captain. How many powerhouses are there in Gotei 13 to such a level? This is really unacceptable, and the 4 Emperors pirate group adds up to fear that there are not so many powerful people at this level. Sengoku of the Buddha has realized the danger of Gotei 13 at this moment, and is afraid that it will be higher than his own estimation. Marshal Sengoku, Sakazuki Admiral, is not the opponent's opponent at all. You made me pay attention to Pluto Rayleigh in the Chambord Islands. He was just added with Doflamingo and Akainu Admiral. It seems that he is not his opponent. After saying this in one breath, the Major General felt that his heartbeat had jumped to the extreme, and even he couldn't believe what he saw. Doflamingo, the best player in 7 warlords of the sea, plus Akainu, the most aggressive of the 3 admirals, plus Rayleigh, the legendary king of the sea, who once crossed the sea. These 3 people actually joined forces, which is enough to cause a sensation in the sea, but what is even more sensational and dumb is that the 3 people together are actually defeated. The power of this so-called Gotei 13 is also terrifying. Are you sure you are telling the truth? Doflamingo, and Pluto Rayleigh and Akainu shot together, but the result is still, are lost. After hearing the report from Major General Marine on the side of the phone bug, Sengoku of the Buddha couldn't calm down, breathing was short, and his brows seemed to be in a straight line. Now Sengoku of the Buddha is having a headache now. This is totally unreasonable. Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo, and Akainu went to fight Kaido. The rough and thick beast Kaido can be beaten to kneel and call him father. But they actually lost. What kind of joke was this? One of the criminal captains of Gotei 13 is actually so strong. If this is true, the terrible level of Gotei 13 is no longer just naval headquarters, it can be dealt with calmly. You pay attention, naval headquarters is holding a meeting right now to support you or something. Naturally there will be a decision later. Remember that, you must retreat when you retreat. Sengoku of Buddha, with a serious face, finished this. After the sentence, he hung up the phone worm and then anxiously ordered to the outside of the office. Let Garp, Lieutenant General Suru, and Aokiji come over. Sengoku of the Buddha has a headache now. I really don't know what to do on my own. What should I do at this time? The Buddha's Sengoku was in a state of confusion. At this moment, he was shocked by the combat power of Gotei 13. He really did not have the usual calmness. Quote. Damn it, for justice. Marine Admiral Akainu was roaring, but his body had no strength to stand up anymore, he could only roar, but Zaraki Kenpachi didn't pay attention to his screams. He took Kusajishi Yakiru and walked into the gate. Soon, the scene of Seireitei appeared in the eyes of Pluto Rayleigh, Aunt Shaw, Akainu and others. Pluto Rayleigh once accompanied Roger to all over the world. He knew everything about the customs of each world. It could be said that he took a handful of sand to Pluto Rayleigh. Pluto Rayleigh might say that this sand comes from the world. Where on the sea? Aunt Shaw is an intelligence communicator. Her intelligence ability is a bit worse than Morgan's, but her intelligence is very extensive. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Looking at the view of Seireitei inside the gate, Pluto Rayleigh, Aunt Shaw frowned at the same time. The serious face seems to be dripping with water. At last, the crossing gate disappeared. Rayleigh, the buildings there, the stones that are made of it, and the style, I have never seen it before. Aunt Shaw smoked a cigarette and said heavily. Yes, I think there is absolutely no such place in the sea. Pluto Rayleigh resolutely said this sentence with certainty. Akainu, weak, collapsed there. He naturally heard the conversation between Pluto Rayleigh and Aunt Shaw. To be honest, Seireitei, Gotei 13 and so on today are too mysterious for naval headquarters. At present, there is still too little information. Hearing the conversation between Pluto Rayleigh and Aunt Shaw, Akainu couldn't help asking, is it Seireitei, doesn't it exist? He hates pirates. But for Seireitei's intelligence, he knew he had to ask. In order to get rid of Seireitei for justice, he knew that he had to pretend and let go of his disgust with pirates. Pluto Rayleigh said solemnly, it may be. He looked at the sky and said, Konghai. Akainu's eyes were cold. Seireitei, is it in Kakai? His gaze also looked at the clouds in the sky. The so-called Kakai is actually a sky island. At present, there are still many people who think that the sky island does not exist. 400 years ago, Vembran Rolando, a North Sea navigator, visited Gaia Island. At that time Gaia Island was still intact. After returning to China, Noland claimed to have discovered Chandora, the home of gold. When Noland led the king to Gaia Island again, the entire island was disconnected from it, and the land of gold was also lost. Noland was put to death on charges of deception, and he refused to deny the existence of the Golden Land to his death. Kakai, naval headquarters, never paid attention. But now that Pluto Rayleigh has said so, Akainu feels it is necessary to go there. In one effort, mobilize all the military forces to give Seireitei on the Sky Island a hard to defend. This is the naval headquarters meeting room. Garp, Tsuru, and Aokiji are here. As soon as Garp came in, he said, Sengoku, what's the matter with you, do you know? I'm challenging my record of gnawing senbei. Hearing this, he glanced at Garp in surprise, but didn't say much. Something happened, right? Aokiji has a serious way. The same is true for cranes. Sengoku called them all of a sudden, without asking to know, something must have happened again. Kizaru was treated at Vegapunk. What I want to say this time is very important. Buddha Sengoku sighed and said. Chapter 91. Advertise here. Chapter 91 Garp's Good Intentions. Hearing the words of Sengoku of the Buddha, the atmosphere of the space became heavier again. Garp, Aokiji, and Lieutenant General Crane, all kept quiet, wanting to hear what the Buddha Sengoku had to say. It starts with 7 warlords of the sea, listen carefully. Doflamingo is dead. When Sengoku of the Buddha finished saying these words, Lieutenant General Crane and Aokiji were worried that Doflamingo was dead. Will some secrets that shouldn't be revealed? Garp and other concerns have never been the same as normal people. Garp frowned and said, didn't you ask 7 warlords of the sea to find Seireitei and deal with Seireitei? What? Doflamingo is dead, then the other 7 warlords of the sea is not dead, which means that his sacrifice is still worthwhile, either to figure out where Seireitei is, or to capture Seireitei's guy back with Doflamingo's sacrifice, or someone who defeated Seireitei. Garp's words of course made Sengoku of Buddha look black. This guy Garp, he has a bad brain. He is a character with well-developed limbs and simple mind, but Garp has no self-knowledge. He never thinks that. He feels that his wisdom is actually higher than his strength, and he interrupts his words from time to time. I think his analysis is very reasonable, very clear, so that the Buddha Sengoku is sometimes very helpless. 7 warlords of the sea should have lost. Aokiji was also observing the changes in Sengoku's expression. What did he see? Aokiji continued. But it doesn't matter, Sakazuki is there, plus those marine lieutenants, and the other party has already worked with 7 warlords of the sea. If you want to come to Sakazuki, you should be able to succeed. But after hearing Aokiji's words, the Buddha Sengoku shook his head again and again. Unfortunately, things are not like this. It was the 6th division of Gotei 13 who defeated 7 warlords of the sea. But the opponent Akainu is facing now is the 11th division of Gotei 13. Hearing these words, Aokiji's expression became very solemn. Tsuru and Garp also became serious in an instant. Gotei 13 actually dispatched 2 teams this time. The 6th division will deal with 7 warlords of the sea, and the 11th division will deal with Akainu and others. Garp couldn't help saying. In that case, Gotei 13's 6th division defeated 7 warlords of the sea, and Gotei 13's 11th division also defeated Akainu and others, right? Sengoku, the Buddha, nodded now, his face very depressed. This time the plan failed again. Lieutenant General Crane, looking at the decadent appearance of the Buddha Sengoku, thought of how heroic the former Buddha Sengoku was. Even if the 4 emperors were not eliminated, the Buddha Sengoku always had hope and thought that it was not impossible to deal with the 4 emperors. I just didn't think of a way for the time being, and the flame of hope was always burning in the eyes of the Buddha Sengoku. But at this moment, everything has changed. He immediately said comfortingly. It doesn't matter, it's completely crowded, so 7 warlords of the sea lost, Akainu also lost, just be careful next time. Quote. When Sengoku of Buddha heard these words, he glanced at Lieutenant General Crane with weird eyes. Finally, the Buddha Sengoku said with a sigh, where is it so simple? Where are there so many people? It was Gotei 13's 11th squad that defeated Akainu, but it was not the entire 11th squad, but the captain of the 11th squad. He was enough to defeat Akainu and then kill the other marines that Akainu took. Lieutenant General. What? The other party is just one person. Seireitei, is it true that every captain has this level of power? This kind of combat power does not seem to be easily handled by naval headquarters. Are you sure? Lieutenant General Crane's tone also became serious. Garp, Aokiji looked at the deep face of Buddha Sengoku. Yes, I can be sure. Read more at mtlarchive.com. The Major General of the Chambord Islands branch has already told me. Having said that, the Buddha Sengoku took a few deep breaths before he could continue. You know, Doflamingo, the king of the gods Rayleigh, is fighting side by side with Akainu. Pirate, 7 warlords of the sea. Marine Admiral. Although Pluto Rayleigh seems to have retired, Garp couldn't help but think of the fact that he was a big pirate when he thought of him. The representatives of such 3 forces actually fight side by side together. Lieutenant General called Crane didn't know what to say. Aokiji didn't expect this to happen either. Garp couldn't help thinking about it, as if he had thought of the things he had teamed up with Roger. Of course, there are too few people who know Lox exists today. News or something, everything about Lox was basically blocked by the world government, naval headquarters, and even destroyed. Find flowers. Suddenly realizing something, Garp's pupils widened. Aokiji gasped. Lieutenant General Crane said in a surprised tone. Sengoku. You mean, they are added together, and in the end, he lost to the guy from Gotei 13's 11th division. In their incredible eyes, the Buddha Sengoku nodded after all. Yes. Garp. Aokiji. Lieutenant General Crane. For a time, in the space, there was silence. It can be said to be a dead silence. Is the captain of the 11th division so strong? Now Aokiji and others have been stunned by the answer of Sengoku, the Buddha. 0. This fact is simply a deep-sea bomb, which exploded in their hearts and set off waves. Such strength. It seems to be better than 4 emperors. Pluto Rayleigh, plus Doflamingo, plus Akainu. With such a lineup, it is not a problem to single out Kaido. But it lost. Doflamingo is still dead. Garp's complexion also seemed to be dripping with gloomy expression. He looked at the Buddha and Sengoku solemnly said, somewhat unreasonable. If it's Gotei 13, every captain's real combat power will look like this. These 13 people, for fear of killing Mary Geoise, the Holy Land, don't have to fear 5 elders. Garp is also aware of the seriousness of the problem. Originally, Revolutionary Army, Marine, Pirate, World Government, etc., they are actually very balanced. But at the moment, this parallel was broken by Seireitei. On the sea, what will happen next? It is really hard to think about it. It is impossible that Gotei 13 has 11 such combat power. Sengoku shook his head directly without acknowledging this, and said, the strength of this Gotei 13 11th squad captain is probably second to none among the 13 captains. It is either the first or the second. Their relationship, it should be similar to the 3 admiral. It is impossible for a certain captain to exist, and several captains can be singled out. After a pause, Sengoku of Buddha said, now we are going to talk about Akainu. Chuan. Chapter 92. Advertise here. Correct. The most important thing now is Akainu's affairs. As Marine Admiral, Akainu is the most lethal among the 3 admiral. It is an indispensable and important force and resource for naval headquarters. Let me go. Garp took a deep breath. Sengoku nodded. At this moment, Sengoku, the Buddha, is now with him, in case something important happens to the phone worm. Bulu Bulu, Bulu's yelling. Sengoku of Buddha answered. This is the marine branch of the Chambord Islands. I want to report that Gotei 13th Division 11 has already left. Buddha Sengoku nodded, but still said anxiously, what about Akainu? Major General Marine hesitated. Could it be that Akainu? Sengoku's face suddenly sank. You died. Akainu's combat power, it's a pity. Garp, Aokiji, and Lieutenant General Crane are all dignified. No, Akainu Admiral is still alive. In the phone bug, the Major General immediately replied. Sengoku of Buddha, he is tired. Isn't this a passionate fan? Why does the character design of many people in his marine subordinates feel like a funny fan? At this important juncture, such a funny thing happened. No wonder Naval Headquarters, have not eliminated the 4 emperors for many years. What happened to Akainu? Now, Sengoku of Buddha asked immediately. Akainu Admiral is still alive, but at this moment, he keeps hitting the ground with his fists. The area he is in is now covered by lava, which affects the climate. He keeps yelling at something. Why don't you kill me? Me. Naval Headquarters. Sengoku of Buddha, he probably already knew what was going on. He said coldly. Tell Akainu, hurry back to Naval Headquarters. Understand. At this time, the Buddha Sengoku put down the phone bug and looked at Garp and waited. What we have to do now is to wait. Akainu is different from Kizaru. It looks rude and unreasonable, but he can notice what Kizaru doesn't pay attention to. May be able to bring us some unexpected information about Seireitei. Naval Headquarters, waiting for Akainu's return. At the moment in the Spirit Palace. Ding, congratulations on getting Garp 10,000 shock points. Close black lens bracket. Ding, congratulations on getting the Sengoku 10,000 shock point of the Buddha. Ding, congratulations on getting Aokiji 1,000 shock points. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. The points are still increasing. At the same time, Zaraki Kenpachi came to see Chen Tian. I know, the task has been completed, you did a good job. Chen Tian sat on the throne, looked at the ferocious Zaraki Kenpachi and nodded, giving affirmation. Zaraki Kenpachi nodded again. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Where did he fear the Spirit King in his heart, but he didn't seem to express his emotions. A hideous face, like a wooden person. Perhaps, Zaraki Kenpachi is alive only when he is fighting. After reporting the mission, Zaraki Kenpachi left and went back to Seireitei, his 11th squad house. Ding, congratulations on completing the task. Close black lens bracket. Ding, congratulations on getting Seireitei. Now, among Soul Society, beyond that Seireitei. Suddenly rumbling. There was a loud noise. The Shinigami who have appeared in Seireitei all looked out in surprise. The space is expanding. Then, houses and districts began to appear. Out of nothing. Everything seems so magical. Byakuya Kuchiki watched this scene without speaking, but the shock in his heart surged. The members of the 6th Division behind him do not have the aristocratic demeanor of Byakuya Kuchiki. Even if they are surprised, they try to stay above their faces and keep them as they are. They are all staring. People from other teams also watched this scene in surprise. This is Rukongai. It turns out that Rukongai was also created by the Spirit King. Spirit King, how strong is it? Shinigami one after another, in awe. Rukongai. It is extremely important to Soul Society. It is the place where the general soul came to after leaving the world, guided by the body, and buried in the soul. According to the order of death, they were allocated to 80 regions in the southeast, northwest and northwest. The public security and living environment of the first district are ideal, and the food is plentiful. In the 80th district, there is no grass and famines everywhere. Everyone's souls kill each other to determine who gets the right to survive. By analogy, as the number of area codes increases, the public security and living conditions in each district will decline and become worse. The Spirit Palace. Chen Tian's new Zanpakudo, because of the shock point, reached 60%. But not enough. To 100%, the woman Unohana Retsu will appear. This seemingly gentle woman, in Gotei 13 back then, only Yamamoto Genryūsai could beat her. But he believes that the Zaraki Kenpachi incident will not end like this. Shocked. Just the beginning. It's not over yet. Ding, you got the Doflamingo strange soul, do you want to release it? Strange soul. He was a little puzzled about this word. Start asking the system. The system talked a lot of tirades. And this time, naval headquarters. Akainu was finally sent back by the warship at the fastest speed. Right now, in the most meeting room, Sengoku of Buddha, Garp of Marine's hero, and Lieutenant General of Crane, Aokiji, who had the most tactics, gathered here. Now, Akainu is reporting back the situation. During the battle, the general content was stated one by one. Suddenly, quiet down. This silence lasted more than half an hour. In the past half an hour, no one spoke first. Even if it was Garp, he didn't yell at anything but was calculating. Now, if I face the angry Akainu alone, the Pluto Rayleigh who has tried his best, and the Doflamingo awakened by Devil Fruit, can he and Zaraki Kenpachi? Same, exert that kind of power. Sengoku of Buddha naturally asked himself to be unable to do this. Aokiji feels that he may not be able to win if he fights an Akainu. Not to mention Lieutenant General Crane. No one expected. Akainu said that he hit the opponent several times, but he still couldn't kill the opponent. This is even more surprising. Lava fruit, that destructive power, is it useless to the people of Seireitei? In other words, the effect is very small. Why is that? It's all the body. Where is the difference? Is it possible that the people of Seireitei, everyone's physique, are as perverted as Garp? The naval headquarters meeting room is now in a dead silence, and they all realize how tricky Gotei 13 is. Marshal Sengoku, what should I do now? Aokiji asked in a deep voice. At this time, it depends on the Marine Marshal Sengoku, the Buddha, what to do. His decision is of vital importance to the next step. Chapter 93. Advertise here. Garp and others all looked at Sengoku, the Buddha. The existence of Seireitei is too tricky. Here, only the Buddha Sengoku is qualified to decide what to do next for Seireitei. The Buddha Sengoku took a deep breath, only to feel a headache. You know, naval headquarters and world government's information are already very complete. Although there are not as many as O'Hara, there are definitely a few words in it, which are related to 800 years of blank history. But there is still no news from Seireitei. So here comes the problem. Seireitei, is it an existence that must not be mentioned in the 800-year blank history? Therefore, neither the Naval Headquarters database nor the World Government database has a bit of information. The only thing that is certain now is the water of Seireitei, which is too deep and even more taboo than rocks. This is simply the resurrection of Rock's pirate, and something that people feel incredible. The Buddha Sengoku has handled countless things in the ocean, but for Seireitei, now I really can't think of a single solution. Then do you have any opinions on this? Sengoku of the Buddha asked. Aokiji waited for a glance at each other, all eyebrows were closed. There is only one way. Akainu, now pale and suffering from severe physical pain, stood up barely from his seat. Now, there is no extra power in his body to emit lava, and there is only a trace of heat, that is, gritted his teeth. The Buddha Sengoku looked at Akainu one by one, all curious, what can Akainu do? Akainu thought of Seireitei and Zaraki Kenpachi, but instead of killing himself, he went straight away. It seemed that he was not as valuable as being killed, or there were other things that were more important than him. Thinking of this, Akainu shouted angrily, my method is very simple. Anyone who provokes justice and ignores justice should be punished. Aokiji thought he would hear some subtle remarks. Now that he heard these words, he shook his head and said, but the opponent's strength is really great, even if you don't talk about the opponent's strength, just say Seireitei, where is it? We don't even know. Sengoku of Buddha nodded. I thought that by letting 7 warlords of the sea deal with Seireitei, I hope that 7 warlords of the sea could find the location of Seireitei by relying on its complicated network or something. Unexpectedly, I still don't know where Seireitei is. For an opponent who doesn't even know where the location is, the person is in the dark, and you are in the light. In this way, it is really helpless. Akainu pointed at Aokiji angrily at this moment. He was defeated by Zaraki Kenpachi. He was humiliated. There was nowhere to vent his anger. At this moment, Akainu was more angry than usual. If he used to, he could still hold back his anger on certain occasions, but now. He pointed at Aokiji angrily, and roared like a volcano. You were talking for Seireitei just now, Kuzan, did you have some kind of deal with Seireitei? The more you talk, the more outrageous. Aokiji ignored it. Buddha Sengoku's face is gloomy, when is it still fighting? Shut up. The Buddha Sengoku feels that one day, he will be pissed to death. He could see that there is always a battle between Akainu and Aokiji. He hopes that he can stop this battle in the future. For example, he can recommend to the world government that Aokiji becomes a marshal. In this way, it may be possible to stop a naval headquarters dispute. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Akainu snorted, took a few deep breaths, held back his anger, and solemnly said, I already know the location of Seireitei. What? The eyes of Buddha Sengoku and others are bright. Is there any breakthrough? The Buddha of Sengoku, etc. was overjoyed. Knowing the specific location of Seireitei, then there is an opportunity to make targeted plans. Right now, a sneer was drawn at the corner of Akainu's mouth. He lost, but he brought important information. If you rely on this information, you can defeat Seireitei. His credit is probably second to none, enough to be remembered by the world government. He now solemnly said, it's Sky Island. Sky Island. Hearing these two words, Sengoku of Buddha suddenly thought it was very possible. Sky Island. Many people think he does not exist. Even some Marines feel that he does not exist. But how could Sengoku and others who were present at the Buddha didn't know the news of Sorishima? Akainu glanced at everyone. Their expressions changed, and Akainu was quite satisfied, and just continued, we have ignored the empty island. There is no doubt that Seireitei is on the empty island. After a pause, he said, it's time to launch an attack, isn't it? Sengoku of Buddha thought, while Seireitei is not prepared. Launch an offensive. Destroy Seireitei in one go. This plan is a bit risky, but for now, it seems that there is really only this way. There are no other ideas for the time being. Lieutenant General Crane pondered for a while, and said, I have to say that Seireitei's Gotei 13 is very powerful. If we want to take advantage of them and completely solve Seireitei, we need to deploy most of the naval headquarters forces, and even invite the world government to send troops at the same time. Sengoku nodded. This battle is not easy. Who knows how strong Gotei 13, there are a few captain-level figures that have not appeared. In this case, Marine 3, Admiral, and even Garp will be dispatched. Even as Marshal Marine, he was afraid that he would have to go out. Gather all your combat power and destroy Seireitei on the Sky Island at once. This plan is quite risky. The Buddha Sengoku sighed. Marshal, the opportunity is right here. The first battle is a decisive battle. Akainu clenched his fists, feeling that the time for revenge has finally arrived, one time, to solve everything. There is only one chance like this. If this time is unsuccessful, Seireitei, change the location again, then it will be difficult to find it again. The Buddha Sengoku also deeply understood this, and immediately ordered, Marines everywhere, do not need to be transferred back, so as not to be noticed and discover their intentions. Just our headquarters military power, plus the military power of the world government. After a pause, he said, I will leave some combat power in naval headquarters, this battle must be won. Sengoku nodded at the words of Akainu's first battle, namely the decisive battle, and immediately began to order. Seireitei of Sky Island. It's time to destroy it. At the same time, we will release news that important members of naval headquarters will hold a 7-day discussion meeting. In these 7 days, important members of naval headquarters will figure out how to deal with Seireitei. Spread this news secretly. The corner of Buddha Sengoku's mouth is smiling. 4 emperors think that Marine is an important member, still in naval headquarters. Seireitei thought that naval headquarters hadn't figured out how to deal with them. This is a smoke bomb. Confused pirate. Also let Seireitei take it lightly. The first battle is the decisive battle. It's finally this moment. Chapter 94. Advertise here. Under the order of Sengoku of Buddha, naval headquarters was secretly mobilized. In order to target Seireitei, Sengoku, the Buddha, knew at this moment that he was afraid that he had to take action. Originally, the Buddha Sengoku felt that when he was in power, the most important thing was to solve the 4 emperors, but now the Buddha Sengoku has understood that the existence of Seireitei is more harmful than the 4 emperors. The first battle is the decisive battle. Sengoku of Buddha looked at the sky outside the window, Sky Island. Seireitei, where are you? We finally know. You too will lose. He knows that this battle is likely to cause heavy casualties. After all, Gotei 13 is indeed more powerful than everyone expected. But for victory, no amount of sacrifice is necessary. Right now, after receiving instructions from Marshal Sengoku, Garp, Aokiji, Akainu, and Tsuru all stood up from their seats and went to work. As he walked out of the conference room door, Akainu and Aokiji's shoulders collided with each other. A little bit of cold came out of Aokiji's body, but he did not dare to release it completely. Knowing that Akainu was injured, he whispered, it's not now. When we fight, everything is focused on the overall situation. The most important thing at the moment is to kill the sky above the island and destroy Seireitei. Aokiji's voice is very low. Aokiji's heart is soft, and Akainu can see it. Akainu is in severe physical pain at the moment, but still breathing in a low voice. Kuzan, destroy Seireitei, the biggest credit is me. The voice fell. Akainu left. If there is no news of Seireitei in Kakai he brought, I am afraid I still don't know how to deal with Seireitei. In Akainu's view, the position of the next Marine Marshal is stable. Aokiji. At this moment, Sky Island. Enel didn't know the current naval headquarters sharpened his sword and killed himself. For Enel, there is a high-level observation haki, plus the power of Thunder Fruit. He is in the Sky Island, like a god. Be obedient, people on the sea of clouds. I am your god. Disobedience, what is waiting for you is God's sanction. Yahahahaha. Playing the role of God, Enel felt fulfilled. I don't know at all, an innocent disaster is coming. ... Everything is proceeding according to the plan made by the Buddha Sengoku. The news was spread to the sea by Naval Headquarters. Naval Headquarters, in order to deal with Seireitei, the important personnel of the headquarters decided to hold a meeting for several days. This thing caused a sensation in the sea. Naval Headquarters, it hasn't been like this for a long time, even when dealing with the four emperors, there hasn't been a meeting for such a long time. At this moment, Luffy, Zoro and others were still in the first half of the Grand Line, and they also heard the news. Zoro frowned and had to say, there is always a feeling that a big event is about to happen in the sea, and I don't know how the wind will go in the future. Luffy was depressed. Where is the wind? The wind, it seems to be blowing from here to there. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Zoro. The wind direction he was talking about was not this kind of wind direction. Seireitei, is it a pirate? Not in Zoro's opinion. If the reputation of Seireitei, with one's own power, overshadows many pirates, and even overwhelmed this era. At that time, One Piece, is it still the yearning of so many people? Luffy. Sometimes, Zoro doesn't know if he is really stupid. The current Luffy seemed to understand something, but yelled, I am going to be the man of One Piece. Of course, many forces are not convinced. Why does Naval Headquarters deal with Seireitei? It takes so many days of meetings, but it has never been special to us. Even in the waters of Whitebeard, above the mobile. The sons of Whitebeard were not convinced. Diamond Joes, Foil Busta, Firefist Ace, etc. all yelled. Father, Naval Headquarters, this is completely despising us. Yeah, father, we must let Naval Headquarters know how good we are. Correct. When they heard what they said, Whitebeard looked at Marco, the Phoenix, and said, what do you think? Marco is the captain of the first team and is considered the eldest son. Whitebeard knows that if he fails one day, the Whitebeard pirates will fall into Marco's hands. For Marco, Whitebeard naturally gives high hopes, hoping that he has superhuman vision and so on, and can help his brothers and sisters. After the Phoenix Marco nodded, he solemnly said, Father, I always feel that something is wrong. At present, we still do nothing, which is better. Whitebeard nodded. Naval Headquarters, hold meetings for days and nights. Why does such news spread to the sea? Is there a population trend in Naval Headquarters? Whitebeard shook his head. People are getting old. Can't think of such a comprehensive question. But Whitebeard knew that something was wrong. He has been dealing with Sengoku for a long time. When he was young, Sengoku kept chasing him. It's just Sengoku, what is it planning? At this point, Whitebeard was a little unexpected. After looking back, Whitebeard laughed bravely again. Marco could see this. He was relieved. He suddenly understood Roger's feelings. When he became too weak, he should give everything to the newcomer. The sea needs fresh blood, he said boldly. Marco, you are very powerful, the new era should belong to your young people. Quote. Upon hearing this, Marco immediately shook his head and said, Father, don't say that, we are still too young, this era still belongs to you. Yes, this era is still my era of Whitebeard. Whitebeard didn't want Marco to wait, so he laughed coolly. He knew that he could not leave the world now. Now the sea is not calm at all. My sons, can you take care of yourself? Let alone Naval Headquarters, World Government, and other four emperors. Just talk about Seireitei. Where did it come from? The Chambordian Islands matter is so big that Naval Headquarters can't hide it. Akainu, plus Pluto Rayleigh, plus Doflamingo, how powerful are these three people gathered together? But I didn't expect to be defeated by Zaraki Kenpachi of Gotei 13's 11th Division. This kind of thing, calling Whitebeard is really unbelievable. He is old nowadays. He couldn't do this anyway. As for whether you can do this when you are young, Whitebeard is serious, not sure. After all, how strong were you when you were young? Whitebeard also doesn't have a reference. I don't know why, I know that Seireitei is so strong. The old man's already dead heart is actually enthusiastic again. I hope I can spend a while with Seireitei. On the sea, I was shocked by Seireitei's record, and when I met with Naval Headquarters for a few days and nights. The Buddha Sengoku personally led the team and set off in secret. The goal, Seireitei Headquarters on the Sky Island. Chapter 95. Advertise here. If other people want to go to the Sky Island, they are afraid that they need some special methods, and even have to wait for some special days, but for Naval Headquarters, there is no need for such troubles. This is also thanks to Naval Headquarters, which has a technology that has surpassed human beings for more than 500 years. He has designed a warship that can be jetted and presents a flying form. Usually this kind of warship needs too much fuel or something. It is not easy to use at all, but in order to solve Seireitei in one go this time, I still used it. In this way, Sengoku, the Buddha, personally led the team, with Aokiji, Garp, and Lieutenant General Crane, and even the seriously injured but insisted on coming to follow the shameful Akainu. Of course, in terms of Naval Headquarters, Sengoku of the Buddha has long left a dark hand, thinking that even if it is Kaido of the Beasts, he dare not easily offend. Garp and Aokiji don't say much about this. Since Sengoku is so confident, he obviously has a lot of back players. Everyone in the outside world thought that important Marines really wanted to hold meetings for 7 days and 7 nights. This is the realm of New World Red Hair Pirates. At this moment on an island, Red Hair Pirates already knows the latest news. With the cooperation of Pluto Rayleigh, Doflamingo, and Akainu, they are still defeated. The Chambordian Islands are completely gone. 2 celestial dragons died. At this moment, the red-haired Shanks is holding a copy of the information sent by the seagulls. I don't know what it is for. Now the red-haired Shanks is very angry. The Conqueror's haki on his body is completely on this island. The eruption broke out, covering this space and swept all around. As the youngest red-haired Shanks among the 4 emperors, he is definitely not simple. His Conqueror's haki is extremely dense and distinctive, pouring out like a rainstorm, suddenly the creatures of this island, and even the surrounding seas. The Sea Kings, they were directly dizzy and then fell to the ground one by one, or they sank into the deep sea. However, the red-haired Shanks' anger was not vented. Captain, you are so upset because of Pluto Rayleigh's affairs. It's no wonder, after all, you have been on the Roger Pirates, and I must have been taken care of by Pluto Rayleigh a lot. Known as Above the Sea, Ben Beckman, who has the highest IQ, now walks, and the red-haired Shanks immediately kneaded the piece of intelligence paper in his hand into a ball of paper, so that no one can see the content. The red-haired Shanks lowered his head and said, "Give me a face, don't say these things, I've grown up and I can't always feel sad." With the appearance of this sentence, Ben Beckman wanted to pay attention to the red-haired Shanks's note, but now he was taken aback and forgot about the note, so he comforted him and felt that the captain shouldn't be so angry. The Pluto Rayleigh was only seriously injured and did not die. Of course I am because of Rayleigh's affairs. Is it because the world government lost its face and celestial dragons died? Ha 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 ha. The red-haired Shanks now slapped ha ha, which is the beginning change the subject. I still have a deep relationship with Rayleigh. When he said this, the red-haired Shanks couldn't help but remember the days when he was a crew member of the Roger Pirates. At that time, he and the clown Buggy had a good relationship. Of course, their performance was much worse than that of Bullet, but the red hair at the time was still under the care of Pluto Rayleigh, who also taught him hockey. Seeing that his captain seemed to remember the past, Ben Beckman said, "Captain, what we should pay attention to now is the situation at Marine headquarters." The red-haired Shanks looked at Ben Beckman with a dignified look in his eyes, but he still pretended to know nothing. "Beckman, what else can happen to naval headquarters? Isn't it just gathering together for a meeting and discussing how to deal with Seireitei?" The red-haired Shanks did not expect that Seireitei, who appeared in such a short time, suddenly became a major concern for naval headquarters, and his threat far exceeded the existence of 4 emperors. The appearance of Seireitei and the impact it caused were something that Shanks had never thought of before. Ben Beckman smiled and said, "Captain, you don't really think that naval headquarters is having meetings for days and nights, do you?" This sentence made Shanks the redhead frown, and his tone was a little nervous. "If not, then what do you think they are going to do next?" "Captain, I am sure of the important members of naval headquarters. I am afraid that they are no longer in naval headquarters. As for where they went, I am not sure." Ben Beckman, in his tone, is very confident. And then, redhead Shanks asked, "Read more at mtlarchive.com." In his tone, he was a little nervous. Now that other Red Hair Pirates crew members come over, they only feel that their captain is nervous. It may be because of Red Hair Pirates. Later, he may have to do something big, and then he will be nervous. Ben Beckman said, "Then, we will go to naval headquarters." The other members of Red Hair Pirates shouted one by one. "Yes, let's go." Shattered naval headquarters. "Those people on the sea know that we, Red Hair Pirates, are the most courageous." Yup. Quote. Redhead Shanks clasped his palms tightly. The ball of paper in his hand was directly crushed into ashes. "Take a deep breath and say, okay. Let's go there. But remember, don't move without my order." "Are you finally going to have a big fight?" The crew of Red Hair Pirates are very excited and gearing up one by one. Ding, congratulations on getting Kaido 10,000 shock points for all beasts. Ding, congratulations on getting the Red Hair Shanks 1,000 shock points. Ding, congratulations on getting 10,000 horror points of Vegapunk. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. At this moment, many people on the sea are still shocked. A steady stream of shock points. Chen Tian's latest Zanpakuto Minazuki has finally reached 100%. Ding, congratulations on getting the character, Unohana Retsu, captain of the 4th Division. Ding, congratulations on getting the 4th Division indirectly. Close black lens bracket. Ding, congratulations on unlocking the 4th Division Team House. The 4th Division Team House is located in Seireitei, the most remote, that is, the quietest place. Ding, indirectly unlock the comprehensive ambulance. It is equivalent to the hospital of Seireitei Shinigami. There are 2 floors. Outside is a garden with white walls. At the same time, Shinigami's hospital is unlocked. This is because the 4th Division is defined in Gotei 13, and it is not a fighting team. Mainly the treatment team. Mainly responsible for the first aid, medical treatment of the wounded and Seireitei's daily cleaning tasks. Captain Unohana Retsu, Deputy Captain Katetsu Azane. The feature is that each team member has Kaido ability and carries a medical bag. The part of the backpack strap on the chest is a green band. The 4th Division advocates benevolence, whether it is a comrade in arms or an enemy, they will be treated after being seriously injured. The team flower is Genshin. Waiu is a sentimental person. 4th Division, come and see me. Now Chen Tian gave an order. He wanted to take a look at the woman called Sister Wa. Redhead Shanks, what kind of identity? I have guesses, but I'm not sure. After all, Kaido is actually a fish fruit. I am afraid that there will be another big reversal in the future. Chapter 96. Advertise here. With Chen Tian's voice falling. Shinigami of the 4th Division, come and see you. Unohana Retsu arrived with the members of the 4th Division. In Chen Tian's eyes, this is indeed a woman with both talent and color. She has a gentle and peaceful appearance, with long black hair that is well divided. Always tie your hair into a braid and hang it to the front. Wearing a death tyrant, the color of the Haori lining is gray sakura. Fix the light-colored belt tied around the waist with a red lanyard. See His Majesty the Spirit King. Unohana Retsu, with the members of the 4th squad, saw him one by one. In this spiritual palace, the majestic Reiatsu seems to suppress everything. The members of the 4th Division have difficulty breathing. There are actually a lot of people in the 4th Division. The famous one is Katetsu Azane, and the third is Aimura Yasuchinen. The 7th seat is also somewhat popular, he is Yamada Hanataro. The 8th seat Datang Chunshin. These are all characters who have appeared in Shinigami. Is there still a shortage of medical equipment? Chen Tian asked casually, and at the same time looked at Unohana Retsu carefully. At present, it is a little scarce. Unohana Retsu's voice is very gentle. Has a mature, feminine temperament. It seems to treat everything tenderly. Unohana Retsu already knows that the present world is a little different, what devil fruit is capable of, it seems a little complicated. She felt that she had to study it before she could. Is it missing? Chen Tian nodded. Ding, find the task. Task. The Comprehensive Rescue Center of Soul Society, the equipment is scarce, and the completeness is not enough, please go to the world to replenish resources. Close black lens bracket. Task reward. Your next Zanpakuto is Ryūjin Jakka. When seeing the 4 words Ryūjin Jakka, Chen Tian's eyes are also bright. To be honest, read more at mtlarchive.com. On Zanpakuto's popularity rankings, no matter who is the first, the top 3 will have Ryūjin Jakka. Chen Tian also loves this Zanpakuto very much. It's not just that. Ryūjin Jakka appeared, unlocked to 100%. Yamamoto Genryūsai will also appear. At this time, Gotei 13 is the real Gotei 13. Otherwise, the Gotei 13 without Yamamoto Genryūsai, the captain, always makes people feel that it seems to be a little bit worse. Unohana Retsu, there is a task for you. Chen Tian's voice sounded slowly, and along with the vast Reiatsu of the Spirit King, even Unohana Retsu had a feeling of surrender. He only felt that this man had the ability to bow his head more than anything else. Please give orders. Unohana Retsu said so, and asked Chen Tian to nod, and then told Unohana Retsu and the members of the 4th Division team behind him. They felt very happy. This task can be said to be only for the squad can do it, and at the same time they are already very curious about the present world, and they have long wanted to go out. Now I will cover a little bit of Reiatsu on your body, and you will hear my voice at any time. Chen Tian only thinks that Unohana Retsu is just like her own lucky star. She got such a task as soon as she came. She is about to get Ryūjin Jakka and unlock the Mao Spiritual Academy. This has made great progress in the development of Soul Society. It can be said that a big step has been taken. And Unohana Retsu, who heard Chen Tian's words, couldn't help being stunned, always feeling ambiguous. The members of the 4th Division were also shocked, but under the vast Reiatsu, they nodded. At this moment, Unohana Retsu couldn't help but said, His Majesty the Spirit King, I already know what to do. Unohana Retsu then left with the teammates of the 4th Division, opening the door to the world and preparing to go to this world. At the same time, this is an empty island. Although Vegapunk designed this special flying warship, the fuel burns too fast. Buddha Sengoku and others estimated that they could take a warship this trip, but it would be difficult to go back. There are many, because the fuel is insufficient, now I hope there is enough fuel on the Sky Island. Judging from the current situation, this is basically a last resort. The Buddha Sengoku roared even more. See, there are buildings ahead. I think Seireitei is not far away. Everyone, this is the most ferocious battle in recent decades, and the cruelty of this battle is even worse. Exceeding the battle with Golden Lion back then, in the battle with the 4 emperors over the years, please do your best. Behind the Buddha Sengoku, Akainu clenched Longyan with his fist, the lava was rolling. Aokiji also has cold eyes, knowing that there will be a fierce battle next time, and is ready to exert his full strength, no more mercy. Garp also picked his nose, knowing that he should use all his strength. The other marine generals also pulled out the swords from their waists one by one, knowing that the next battle is extremely dangerous, if they don't take out a percentage. 120 of the power, afraid of going back without life, each of them had cold sweat on their foreheads, but their gazes were solemn, knowing that they had to show more strength than usual. Even the accompanying marine soldiers and the army of the world government are now taking a deep breath and looking attentively. They are ready to fight with the terrible enemy. Find flowers. Finally, a special building appeared in front of the warship. This is the Angel's Gate. Of course, for the marine soldiers, I don't know what it is, but there was a sound soon. This was the voice of one of the 4 god-tier officers under the seat of Anilu. Gatas looked coldly at the sudden army and was also startled. However, thinking of the Anilu behind him who had the power of a god, he just thought about it. He shouted courageously, the daring Qinghai people broke into the Sky Island and the Forbidden Area without authorization. Do you know what terrible enemy you are about to face? Buddha Sengoku and others looked serious. Of course, they knew what a terrible existence they were about to face. Seireitei, Gotei 13, each captain should not be underestimated. However, they are now ready. If you die, you have to take a captain to bury it. Even the Buddha Sengoku is ready to die. It can be said that the Buddha Sengoku did not expect to pass away safely from the day he became a marine. Now, especially Akainu, he can't help it anymore, and directly hit the four priests with a fist. You people, accept just sanctions right here. Suddenly the lava rolled, as if a natural disaster was coming, and spheres of burning flames came towards them, like a meteorite. Oh my god, what power is this? Do people in Qinghai have such power? The four god-tier officials looked at each other in shock. They were too late to react. One of the god-tier officials was hit and killed in the blink of an eye. The other priests glanced at each other, panic and fear spread in the hearts of the three people, and the whole atmosphere fell into silence. Unexpectedly, there is only this kind of strength. No wonder it's just the gatekeeper, and you didn't even wear that very distinctive clothes. Sure enough, the gatekeeper only has this strength. Akainu punches again, but Seireitei is the gatekeeper. Why should I be afraid? Another punch went towards the other three priests. Akainu's speed was too fast. The three priests didn't react at all, and they died tragically under Akainu's lava fist. Akainu felt that this was the first shot in the battle, the so-called good start. If this battle is won, the world government must remember its own record. The gatekeeper is only capable of this, but the members of Gotei the 13th of May appear next. Please be careful, pay all attention, and use all your strength. Let's go. Fight. Quote. With Akainu's voice, the marine soldiers and the world government army behind him are all rushing. War. Chuan. Chapter 97. Advertise here. Chapter 97 Enel. You really hit the wrong person. 6th more seeking subscription. Soldiers on the warship, one by one, blood surged. Knowing that they are about to face the terrible Seireitei, but they are not afraid. Warship, keep moving forward. Fast. At last, after sailing for a period of time, there was a boom, a boom, a boom, and the sound of thunder and lightning roared, and then there was lightning, landing. Buddha Sengoku said, it seems that some decent guys have come out, but with this strength, will they be one of the captains of Gotei 13? Akainu shook his head and said, probably the deputy captain. As for the deputy captain of Gotei 13, Akainu has not seen much, he has only seen Kusajishi Yakiru with his own eyes. Now, the warship continued to move forward. Boom. Boom. Thunder and lightning continued to fall. At this moment, Aokiji took the shot, and a layer of ice appeared on the warship, connecting to other places, thunder and lightning, and being guided to other places one by one. Akainu glanced at Aokiji with serious eyes, but did not speak. Aokiji's current performance is still a lot worse than his current performance. That's all. The warship headed towards the depths of Angel Island. Quickly, a palace appeared. Seireitei, the spirit king, as a king, naturally lives in the palace. This kind of architecture fits well. Many of Marine's lieutenants looked at each other and nodded repeatedly. I think the warship has not found the wrong place. It seems that Seireitei is just behind this palace. This may be the first palace in Seireitei, the Gate Palace. In the palace, you have a figure sitting upright. He has seen the arrival of the warship, crowded with people. But Enel still sketched a sneer at the corner of his mouth. He was confident that he was a god. Has the power of God. The opponents who are not afraid of everything, suddenly looked arrogantly at the coming Akainu and others. He slowly stood up, accompanied by thunder and lightning, and said, do you know who I am? He came here unexpectedly. Without saying anything, Akainu looked at a group of lieutenants behind him. Such a role, you go and try. Even the clothes that you didn't wear for the death tyrants, won't they be the gatekeepers of Gotei 13, right? Akainu feels that if the king is against the king, he will be against the general, and that he has been playing with Seireitei at the gate, and he will definitely lower his grade. The lieutenants behind Akainu looked at each other and rushed up one by one. Moonwalk. They were fast, and with instant kung fu, appeared behind Enel, and slashed towards Enel one by one. Enel was really taken aback, he has the ability. But Enel avoided their offensive. You have offended God. Prepare to accept God's sanction. Enel yelled. The forbidden magic stick in his hand was bursting with thunder, and then he hit the lieutenant generals in front of him. 30 million volts, Thunderbird. Crackling. The blue arc was constantly flickering in the space, and a large bird formed by thunder and lightning moved towards several lieutenants and flew through the air, still carrying arcs. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Looking at the flying Thunderbird, the marine lieutenant glanced at each other and secretly said that Seireitei is indeed powerful, a gatekeeper. Has a strength close to that of Quasi-Admiral. We can't lose here. You janitor, don't be arrogant. The lieutenant generals burst into anger, using armament hockey one by one, waving their sharp swords, and swarming them. It is abruptly blocking Thunderbird. One of the lieutenant generals slashes even split Thunderbird. Looking at the battle in front of him, Lieutenant General Suru said strangely, people of Seireitei, don't people like to play Kido and Zanpakuto? How come the abilities used by this guy in front of him look like devil fruit abilities? Sengoku nodded. It's a bit strange. Things like Zanpakuto are very scary. It is impossible for everyone in Seireitei to have them. Akainu said coldly and sternly at this moment. There are always some people who don't have Zanpakuto. Like our naval headquarters, it is impossible for everyone to eat devil fruit. Makes sense. Sengoku of Buddha nodded again. Besides, the one who uses lightning power in front of you is really not bad. It's not like a small character either. Said that he was the guardian of Seireitei, and also said that he was in the past. Immediately, Sengoku of the Buddha shouted. Quick battle, we are going to defeat the guy behind him. Yes, several marine lieutenant generals who were playing with Enel nod their heads. Enel is a little confused. The guy behind me. Right now. Lieutenant General Marine teamed up. Finally, Any Road could not be blocked. You can't beat me, I'm a god. Any Road, elemental, suddenly, thunder and lightning wantonly. The swords in the hands of Lieutenant General Marine use armament hockey. Then, hacked up, pain. Enel stared at once. He actually felt the pain. Enel, who didn't know the existence of armament hockey at all, looked at the Marine lieutenant generals in front of him incredibly. You use the power of other systems, you don't even know armament hockey. Who makes you the gatekeeper? If you are a Gotei 13 captain level existence, even if you don't know armament hockey, you don't need to be afraid. Unfortunately, you are a janitor. Enel. The gatekeeper. Who are you talking about? Just as Enel was at a loss, a Marine lieutenant slammed a punch in the chest of Enel, who was still bewildered. Boom. Enel was knocked out and flew out, hitting a large pillar, and after falling to the ground, he quickly got up, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and stared at the group of people in front of him in shock. Who are these people? So smart. There are still so many people needed to fight against themselves. Anyone who opens the door and keeps the door behind, you are too insulting. 0.60 million volts, Thunder Dragon. Enel's face turned grimly, and he tapped the taiko drums on both shoulders with both hands. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, the thunder light illuminates the entire palace, the thunder and lightning crackles. A thunder dragon, facing several marine lieutenants. To be honest, several marine lieutenant generals will be added together to fight Thunder Dragon, and there is no problem. It must be done quickly, otherwise Seireitei will react and it will not be delayed any longer. Akainu rushed forward immediately. The lava giant fist hit the Thunder Dragon with one punch, and the Thunder Dragon shattered. Then, the terrible fist continued to face Any Road. Suddenly, Dongtong hadn't reacted yet, and collided with Enel's thunder and lightning fists. Enel is not an opponent, and has some repulsion. Akainu had fierce eyes, gritted his teeth and said, the blame is Zaraki Kenpachi of Gotei 13 behind you. Enel felt that he couldn't resist the opponent's fist. Simultaneously. Finally, I couldn't help but say, Zaraki. Zaraki Kenpachi, who? Akainu snorted and withdrew the lava fist from Enel's chest, less garlic. Another punch. Enel couldn't stop it and was knocked to the ground. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, Zaraki Kenpachi, who the hell is it? This moment, the atmosphere is solemn. The space is silent. Chapter 98. Advertise here. Chapter 98. The weakest captain in Gotei 13. 7th more seeking subscription. At this moment, space is quiet. A long time. The Buddha's Sengoku came back to his senses. His body trembled and realized a terrible thing. His eyes were splitting, and he shouted, you just said you didn't know Zaraki Kenpachi. Enel nodded. He feels that today must be his unlucky day. As a god, he was beaten for no reason. What is Zaraki Kenpachi? Enel said that as a god himself, he has never heard such a strange name. Of course, now I am calling myself a god in my heart. Where can I dare to speak? The Buddha's Sengoku started to breathe quickly. At this moment, he was staggering. Fortunately, Lieutenant General Crane and Garp were supporting him. Otherwise, Marshal Sengoku might fall. Akainu's eyelids quivered too. His eyes widened. He couldn't believe that this kind of thing would happen. Wrong. Is it possible to find the wrong one? Seireitei or something, isn't it on this sky island at all? Akainu took a deep breath. If they really found the wrong one, wouldn't their marine become a joke? This consequence, Akainu is somewhat unimaginable. What happened? Isn't this passionate? Why is there a funny plot, mixed with 18 of them? Akainu said that he couldn't bear it. Immediately said. No, what he said may be false. He doesn't give up. If Seireitei is not here, so what is he who told the Buddha Sengoku this information? Now with Akainu's voice, the hawkish marine lieutenant generals used observation hockey to find them. However, it's really nothing. Seireitei, Akainu. It's like petrified. Akainu who deserves to be passionate about you like this. At this moment, I feel that this development is too wrong. Why is it like this? Can't Rexifan be pure blood? The Buddha Sengoku and others also stood there. For a while. Lieutenant General Crane reacted and said, Sengoku, it's not listless now. When you are in a daze, let's talk. Now what should we do next? The Buddha Sengoku stood there. I didn't know what to say for a while. Chen Tian is also watching this scene. In his opinion, Enel is really miserable. In the original book, Thunder Fruit was defeated by Luffy's rubber fruit, but Chen Tian felt that something was wrong. Read more at mtlarchive.com. Such a strong thunder and lightning, so restrained. His miserable fate has not changed. Now he has not met Luffy, but he has encountered such misfortune. This time period, red hair pirates, heading towards naval headquarters. Most of the members of the pirate group want to make a big fuss. The red-haired Shanks looks complicated from time to time and doesn't know what he is thinking. In terms of Seireitei, naturally there are actions too. The door to pass through is opened in this world. Unohana Retsu, with the members of the 4th Division, walked out of the gate and came to this world. This is a training base for Marine. It is not someone else who teaches students here, it is Zephyr. His fame has gradually been forgotten. You know, he used to be no small person. The former world government's highest combat power, Admiral of Headquarters, was called the Black Wrist, Zephyr because of his powerful armament haki. In his lifetime, he defeated countless pirates, but never killed any enemy. Admiral, the predecessor of Naval Headquarters, known as, not to kill. Come here through the boundary gate. It's because there are many medical books hidden here. Right now, Unohana Retsu walked in front with a gentle face. The members of her team looked much better than the members of the 11th Division. Every one of them looked almost approachable. Right now, Zephyr's disciple Ain is leading a patrol team. There are many students in Zephyr. But not everyone has become a marine soldier for combat. Most of them still choose to become a medical soldier. Of course, in the past, Zephyr taught the elite. But now Zephyr, perhaps because of the different ideas. He began to teach the masses of students, so that there would be more medical soldiers among them. Ain has been following Zephyr. Even if my own teacher is no longer reused. At this moment, Ain led the patrol team and found Unohana Retsu and others. When I saw Unohana Retsu and other unique costumes, Ain was also surprised, especially Unohana Retsu's clothes. This is Seireitei, Captain Gotei 13 style, right? Correct. Zephyr was also in class recently, analyzing Seireitei's Gotei 13. Among them is the difference between the captain's clothing and the team's clothing. Ain was a little nervous at the beginning. The power of Gotei 13 is now a well-known thing. The captains appearing today are basically capable of defeating Admiral. Of course, Teacher Zephyr also said that a team and an organization must be strong and weak. At present, the guys appearing in Gotei 13 are all powerful, but there are definitely weak ones. Ain took a look at Unohana Retsu. From Unohana Retsu, he couldn't feel any murderous aura, and there were other existences. Some are just soft. The woman Unohana Retsu looks like she can't fight at all. This makes Ain a little flattered. I have encountered the weakest existence in Gotei 13. Ain feels that his strength is not as good as Admiral, but his luck is really better than Admiral. Thinking of this, Ain still asked with certainty, are you from Gotei 13? Unohana Retsu nodded and said softly, yes. Katetsu Azane behind him said, this is the captain of Gotei 13th squad, Unohana Retsu. The other members of the 4th division nodded. This team feels really peaceful. Called Ain Wei frowned, and said, the feeling you give to others is completely different from the rumors of the Gotei 13 teams. Unohana Retsu smiled softly again, with a gentle personality, which was fully revealed. Of course, we are different from other teams in Gotei 13. Our 4th division focuses on treatment. Yes, this is our 4th division. Quote. The members of the 4th division spoke one by one, and it seemed that it was really good for them to stay in the 4th division. There is no way. The 4th division is really good. The captain is gentle and does not have any special requirements for new recruits when recruiting for the 4th division. No matter who you are, you can come to the 4th division. If you are good at Kido, it will be even better. Ain nodded. She and the students behind her were all staying. Unexpectedly, there was a medical team in Gotei 13. Ain feels even more that his teacher Zephyr has the foresight. Gotei 13, it is impossible for every captain to be strong, there must be surprisingly weak. For example, the captain of the 4th division in front of him looks like he can't fight at all. Then what do you want to do when you come here? Ain breathed a sigh of relief. I think there is no threat to the 4th division or something. You can solve it yourself without Zephyr. Chapter 99. Advertise here. Ain is curious about the purpose of the 4th squad. Is it so weak to stay in Seireitei? I don't know how Seireitei did it. It actually made such a weak 4th division out. Sure enough, as Teacher Zephyr said, any strong organization will make mistakes, make wrong decisions and stupid instructions. Unohana Retsu still whispered softly, it's to heal different situations. The members of the 4th division nod their heads. Yes, the present world is a little different from what we know, so the medical treatment of our 4th division also needs to be improved. Yes, it looks like this. So we hope to get some medical books. Quote. For the 4th division, Ain nodded. I just feel that the 4th division is completely different from naval headquarters, Gotei 13 in world government propaganda. Of course, Ain still needs to ask Zephyr for advice. She can't make a decision on this kind of thing herself. Quickly, Zephyr also came with a group of people. Zephyr at this moment is still the strong one who does not kill. Without any strong ideas, it hasn't become what it looks like in the theater version. After coming, Zephyr was also taken aback after hearing Ain's words about what happened just now. He didn't expect the 4th division of Gotei 13 to be like this. Focus on medicine. In Zephyr's view, as long as there is a mind to save, there are no so-called enemies among the healers. Zephyr can be an enemy of Gotei 13's other divisions, but for the 4th division, Zephyr is naturally unable to play. Do you want books of this world? This world, in the eyes of Zephyr today, is the meaning of this era. Sure enough, Seireitei, as naval headquarters speculated, was a product of ancient times. It's been a long time since I was born. So, for the medical skills of this era, there are some deficiencies. Do you know something about it? Of course, there is no problem. Zephyr pondered for a while, and looked at Unohana, who was gentle, could not fight at all, and even seemed to be a real healer everywhere. Zephyr nodded and agreed. Under the leadership of Zephyr, Unohana and others headed towards a place like a library in the base. Ain also followed behind. Zephyr's thoughts, inclusive of everything, made Ain and others quite admired. After getting there, Zephyr asked Ain and others to sort out medical books. Marine and Seireitei are rivals. However, the doctor and the doctor should not be the enemy. Zephyr thought of something. He smiled at Unohana and said, "There are some devil fruits, suitable for doctors, but..." Having said that, he paused. For anyone, he habitually speaks in the teacher's teaching tone. Don't rely too much on the fruit's ability. If you can, rely on yourself. Such things can be passed on. Unohana waited and nodded. Katetsu Azane of the 4th division waited before coming. Kusajishi Yakiru of the 11th division said that there is a problem with this world order. Read more at mtlarchive.com. But now it seems that there are still some people who are warm. At last, teacher, it's sorted out. Ain came to Zephyr to report. There are a lot of books on medical treatment. It seems like a weak woman, it is difficult to move away. Zephyr frowned slightly. He glanced at the players of the 4th division behind Unohana. All of them didn't look strong. Even the men of the 4th division looked as if they had no muscle at all. Zephyr shook his head. Can't help but say, do you need my disciples to help carry it? Unohana shook her head. Her voice was small and weak. No need. Katetsu Azane waited one by one to move the books. Now, Zephyr nodded. Still a little bit of strength. But it's still not strong. At the same time, Unohana picked up a book on the spot and read it. He found something and said, to treat such an injury, do you need medical equipment or something? Zephyr also walked up and took a look, nodded, and said, yes, if you don't have the ability of devil fruit, then to treat such an injury, you need the cooperation of equipment. Unohana thought, Seireitei's comprehensive rescue center is indeed lacking some medical equipment. So where are there many medical devices? Hearing these words, Zephyr couldn't help being wary, but looking at Unohana smile. Zephyr is depressed. This woman, tell her, what can she do? Naval headquarters. Zephyr said. The warehouse there stores a lot of medical equipment every year. Even if they are not used, they will not be handed over to the poor. Zephyr said this, his voice low. But this is the stereotype of naval headquarters, and Zephyr knew he couldn't change anything at all. After Unohana and the members of the 4th division looked at each other, they nodded and made a decision. Seeing Unohana like this, Zephyr said in surprise. Your 4th squad. Is it possible that the 4th squad is going to naval headquarters? Quote. Ain and others secretly said that it would not be possible. With the strength of the 4th division, go to naval headquarters. Isn't this a self-inflicted snare? Unohana nodded in their incredible gaze. Yes, based on the current situation, we need to go to naval headquarters. Voice. Weak. Such a woman, go to naval headquarters. Zephyr sighed. As Marine, we are always enemies. I would advise you not to go. Zephyr said faintly. He has done everything he can. If the 4th division goes to die, he won't say much. After all, the two sides are opposing parties, but Zephyr treats it specially because the 4th division is a medical team. It's okay, we can handle it. Unohana waited a few more words of gratitude to Zephyr before leaving. Looking at the back of them leaving, Zephyr shook his head repeatedly. In his opinion, this is the doctor. Real doctors, for some cherished medical skills, well done, scarce medical equipment, to treat more people. They can take their own lives. Because of this, Zephyr is special for the 4th division. Teacher, they are going to naval headquarters. Can they come out then? Hearing Ain's question, Zephyr shook his head and said, they are too weak, and naval headquarters is not as gentle as the teacher and me. Ain sighed. Unohana gives a sense of handsome sister. Pity. Now, Unohana heard Chen Tian's voice still in the spirit palace. Decided to go to naval headquarters. Yes, your majesty spirit king. Unohana nodded in her heart, and at the same time felt a little uncomfortable. In this case, doesn't the spirit king know what she thinks in her heart? Okay. Then go. I trust you. Chen Tian didn't say much. The strength of Unohana cannot be underestimated. Chapter 100. Advertise here. How powerful is the world government? In the anime, there may be no special description. Just say so. At the same time that Zephyr gave the medical books to Unohana someone in the base already told the world government about this matter. World government. In addition to the main personnel, there are of course some special personnel, such as Lu Chi, not a few. They mingled in the crowd. Of course, there are several in Zephyr base. They may or may not know each other. World government threw its eyes into the crowd, monitoring everything. At this moment, the steel frame of the world government was empty, and it was a special phone bug that was taken aback. Are you true? The 4th Division of Gotei 13 is actually a medical team and has no strength at all. That fellow Zephyr handed over the medical books to him. The 4th Division is going to Naval Headquarters now. Gang Bone smiled. The 4th Division team is too courageous. Do they think they are the vicious 11th squad? Just a captain suppressed Akainu, Pluto Rayleigh, and Doflamingo. The 4th Division is added together. I'm afraid that Akainu won't be enough. Either Gotei 13 is also competitive internally. Just like the 3rd Admiral, the 4th Division looks at the performance of other divisions and wants to perform better. Or is it just the doctor's paranoia, want to get more medical equipment and help more people? Gangukong murmured. Commander, what should we do? The voice in the phone bug is very solemn. To be honest, Gangukong doesn't believe that the 4th Division dares to go to Naval Headquarters. Only so little strength. He believed that Zephyr could not read it wrong. The 4th Division has just such a little strength, and for a while, it has a hot mind and wants to go to Naval Headquarters. But maybe in the middle of the journey, I regretted it. There is such a possibility. Don't worry, Gotei 13's 4th Division is 80% likely to not go to Naval Headquarters. They are doctors and should have a cool head. On the road, calm down and analyze each other's strengths. Dare to go to Naval Headquarters. Sengoku of Buddha is not waiting at Naval Headquarters. Few people know about this matter, but Gangukong is definitely one of them. Even if the Buddha Sengoku is not waiting. But Naval Headquarters still retains many lieutenants, major generals and the like. Even the Buddha Sengoku also found 2 people, Peach Rabbit and T Dolphin. These 2 guys are Sengoku of Buddha, Lieutenant General Crane, and Garp has discovered it a long time ago. It's just that Tautu has been cultivating and has not yet been a teacher. Because the T Dolphin likes Tautu, Tautu didn't get out of the teacher, so he didn't come out. But this time because the Naval Headquarters wanted to attack Seireitei on the Sky Island. I asked Peach Rabbit. Tautu can only play early. The T Dolphin also came out. Read more at mtlarchive.com. These 2 people are named Tautu and T Dolphin. This is the name following Admiral's code name, named after color and animals. It can be seen that the Buddha Sengoku agrees with these 2 strengths. The 4th Division, with medical skills, no strength, impossible to go to Naval Headquarters. However, Gangukong is a prudent person. Otherwise, he would not become the commander-in-chief of the world government step by step. He felt that it was necessary to tell 5 elders about this matter. In this case, even if something goes wrong, it's not his steel and bones that decides. 5 elders can never scold themselves, right? Honestly. Regarding Seireitei, he finally went to 5 elders. But 5 elders was not there. I don't know if it's there now. The steel bones leave empty. He arrived in the highest hall. The only one sitting there was 5 elders holding a blade similar to the ghost. The other 5 elders went to Pangu City, but they didn't seem to come back. Empty. What's the matter? It's like this. I finally saw 5 elders. Gangukong is the latest thing that happened, that is, the thing about Seireitei. Seireitei. Kendo 5 elders pondered. Steel bones waited. Hope to get some information about Seireitei from Kendo 5 elders. Although, Seireitei is probably gone at the moment. Sengoku of the Buddha, etc., almost came out, plus the undefeated sending out troops, etc. Can Seireitei on the Sky Island still be there? To be honest. After thinking about it over and over in my mind. Kendo 5 elders still shook his head. Seireitei or Gotei 13, I have never heard of it, is it an ancient force? Then in the blank history, I am afraid it is also an unknown little force. Hearing what Kendo 5 elders said, Gangukong could only nod his head. What happened to the other 4th Division? Ha ha ha, as you said, Seireitei has almost been destroyed at this moment. The 4th Division or something, came out to search for the medical skills of the world, but escaped. Kendo 5 elders thought for a while, and said, we don't need to do anything, the 4th Division or something, the old man thinks they don't dare to go to Naval Headquarters. Kendo 5 elders has a firm tone. Gang Bone nodded. Kendo 5 elders has the same view as him. It's impossible to go to Naval Headquarters. Calm down in the middle, the 4th Division understands the difference in their own strength, they will definitely escape. Gangukong felt like he should tell Naval Headquarters specifically. But Kendo 5 elders laughed, thinking that Steel Bone Kong made a fuss, and told Steel Bone Kong not to do this. The 4th Division did not dare to go, and there was no need to increase troops to Naval Headquarters or something. Empty. It's okay to be cautious, but don't be too cautious. The old man's judgment is impossible to be wrong. As you said, the 4th Division has the same strength. Why do you go to Naval Headquarters to die? Thousands of miles to give people heads. It's impossible for a doctor who can do such a mindless thing, right? And this side. On a warship. This warship is a ship on the shore of Zephyr base. Unohana Retsu chose this way and went to Naval Headquarters to know whether it would have any effect on the body if it was on the ocean. As a doctor, sometimes, many things have to be experienced by yourself. On the warship, the members of the 4th Division also picked up the books of the world and read them one by one. Oh, I didn't expect such a disease. This symptom is very strange, and one orange can solve it. And this disease. Unohana Retsu also read it with a book. Do you think there are many diseases in this world that you haven't seen before? Chen Tian's voice rang in Unohana Retsu's heart. Unohana Retsu nodded, but still not used to it. She knew that the Spirit King must also be watching here. She didn't dare to be more shy, she said with a gentle expression. These books are very valuable for research. At the same time, a news appeared on the sea, and suddenly a violent wind and huge waves were set off.